Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Super excited to have you guys here. It's Sunday. We all know what Sunday means. We know Sunday means Lumberjack Landlord live stream. So it is Sunday morning. Super excited to be here. The kids are out on a field trip with mom for a couple of hours. So we have at least a couple of hours to hang out, have some fun, and talk about some real estate, which couldn't be any more exciting. So for those of you who don't know and are wondering why you showed up today, it's because I am Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord, recently featured in Business Insider a couple of times on the Uneducated Economist, which was an absolute blast to do that interview. I encourage you guys to watch it because it was a lot of fun, really informative. I love working with Simon. We've done a few episodes together. Really enjoyed working with Simon. He's a really good guy. And we have a life that's a lot alike, just having gone through a lot and, gotten through it and got to the other side. So really appreciate you guys being with me here today. Excited to talk about a lot of things. I'm sure there'll be some questions about the Business Insider article that we just did, or that I just did, regarding a bunch of cash out refis. As you guys know, I'm an open book. Happy to answer any of the questions that you do have. And this is for not investors, new investors, and seasoned veterans. I think I can help you guys all out with stuff that we've done, whether it was rehabs or purchasing strategies or a lot of other different stuff. So to give you an idea, I still do the work every single day. I look at my market every single day. In fact, I'd be willing to bet I've closed a deal more recently than you. I closed one on Friday. So closed that deal on Friday. Really excited about that deal. Yeah, love that deal. We'll talk a little bit about that one today. Not a whole lot though, just because I've owned it for like a day. So thankfully, no problems. So we're good there, but yeah, super excited to be here, talk about real estate. And so we'll jump in again, guys. Any questions, please feel free, ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I recognize, because I teach people this stuff as well as do it myself, I recognize that there's a massive learning curve. You could be here or you could be here. It doesn't matter. I'll answer any question. Don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid that it's going to sound like a stupid question. I'll either answer it or I'll give you a resource that will answer it more in depth. That's something that you guys can go do on your own time. So yeah, so I'm super excited to do this with you guys. I don't know, I guess let's kind of, jump in. As I always tell people, I actually have contractors in the field on Sunday. I actually have a move-in happening today. So you will see me look at my phone. You will see me pick up my phone. I don't mean to be rude, but we got to keep people going on the outside. I absolutely reward the side hustle. So I have a lot of people that like to make money on the side. They work their job, during the week, and then they make money, extra money on the side. I love to reward that. I want to make sure that they're not sitting there waiting for me, because I respect their time as I expect they're going to respect mine. So you'll see me pick up my phone. I'll reach out to people or making sure that, answering questions. So that's what I'm doing on the phone. It's not that I'm not completely 100% engaged here. It's really just that I got to also make sure to be taking care of folks in the field, and making sure that everybody is happy. Right. So, but anyway, that's what we'll make sure that we'll do today, and make sure that everyone else is having a good time with us, even if they're not able to be with us. So let's jump into the comments real quick. Dion, financial talk every day is Saturday. Yeah, I mean, sort of, right, Dion? Like, you love your job, so it's not really working. So yeah, kind of every day is a little bit of Saturday. It is a little bit Saturday. Hopefully someday soon, every day really will be Saturday for me. So there's a big joke. Mike Zuber from One Winter at a Time, he retired at 45 years old, 6 months and 15 days. So the big joke is that Deanna and I have with him is that I'll retire at 45 years, 6 months and 14 days. So, and just so you guys know what day that is, I think it's January 4th of 2023. So I guess the race is on. Yeah, Janet Santiago, good morning. Hey, good morning, Janet. Janet's one of our frequent watchers. We always appreciate her attending because we know how extremely busy she is flying all over the world. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Congrats on 2K. Yep. Very excited. Thanks, Dion. We just hit 2,000 subscribers last night. I think that was in large part thanks to obviously all the guys that we do work with on a regular basis, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, Mike Zuber, One Rental at a Time, but also some amazing, frequent guests or less than frequent guests, uneducated economist, Simon, great guy, love talking shop with him, love talking the economy with him. So he's just an absolute blast to work with. Brian Casella, fantastic real estate agent, just an absolute beast, really gets the game of being a real estate agent. So that's what makes him successful. That's what makes him a great guy to work with. So yeah, lots of amazing guests like that. We do have locked in. This week, I'm actually doing a plumbing special. I know. I spoil us, but doing a plumbing special with my amazing plumber to the stars, or at least just to the somewhat dimming star of Lumberjack Landlord, but super awesome guy. We're just going to kind of talk about just some general stuff. And then as we see questions on that, which is not going to be a live stream, but as we see questions on that video, we'll then schedule something back with them. We probably won't do it weekly, but we might do it like once a month. And so as you guys give topics that you want to see us cover, we will be covering that in the list. So yeah, and a lot of normal everyday occurrences. If you're a plumber in the Northeast, you have the hardest job in the world. You just do. Or if you're a plumber in a very cold area that gets very bad winters, warm summers, and really old architecture, that's why I say that that's the toughest job. Sometimes he's having to go into homes that have pipes that have been there for, 70, 80, 90 years. And then you have to work with those. And I can tell you, a cast iron pipe that's 75 or 80 years old is brittle. But don't you worry, that cast iron pipe only holds poop. So anyway, holy cow, you guys nail me with questions. Let's get through them. So Janet Santiago, I am good. Thank you very much for asking. Family's good. Kids are good. Ashley's getting ready to head down for the last 5-day chemo stint with baby Eliana. So we are very excited, very blessed, very grateful. She'll be down there for 5 days. And that's the last 5 day. Those 5 days are tough. I'm at home with the other 2 kids, trying to run the real estate and do my real job and keep kids alive. And we certainly miss Ashley and the baby being down at the hospital, but super excited that this is the last 5 day. Tom Kine, hello from Maryland, except that I'll be driving through multiple states. Tom, appreciate you keeping our supply chain going, my friend. Crimson Knight, good morning, Matt. Good morning, sir. Keith Hager, do you have any commercial properties that you can convert multifamily upstairs and retail downstairs? Yes, I do. I do. Yep, I do. I also have properties that the ordinance in our city for new construction is retail on the first floor, but retail is kind of tough. I'm not a huge fan of retail commercial. I've got a little bit of it. I don't really like it. I just don't like it. Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of it. I much prefer residential. And so we have buildings that are 3-4 stories tall. And so we're actually going to be in the process of converting a second floor from commercial to residential, because by the statute, we're allowed to. So that certainly is going to be our goal. And by the way, if you hear any screaming in the background, it's just my children. I think they went outside for a little while to play on the swing set because it's such a beautiful day here. So we're grateful for the beautiful day. So yeah, Keith, I do have those kind of units. Sure. John Doe, good morning. Good morning, John Doe. Good to see you. One of my buddies just says, can you send me the free version of that again? Of the newest article on Business Insider. subscribe. It's like a few bucks, and they do an amazing job at writing articles. Like, it's constant. They have articles that come out pretty much that I read probably every day, every other day. Like, it's a really good online magazine. It's really good. I enjoy it better than I enjoy Wall Street Journal. Yeah, I enjoy it a whole lot more. Crimson Knight, I asked way too many questions of these IBC questions, but here we go. When selecting a company to install an IBC, should I pick a company off their installer list or any company? So I would pick one off their installer list, because what you really want, right? The whole reason for the IBC is serviceability. And so if they're not on the list, they're likely not going to have a repair kit literally on their truck with them. I would tell you that Kachiko Plumbing and Heating is going to be my guest on Thursday. He's out in my area. I think he'd probably go to Manchester. He might likely go to Manchester, but I'll find out. I'll find out if that's something that he'd be willing to do. But definitely find somebody that's on the list, because they will have that dealer kit. That's the question you got to ask, Crimson, is do you have the dealer kit? Do you have the service kit? Because that service kit is worth its weight in gold. Anything fails on that boiler, they can walk in, grab that part off of the service kit and plug it in, and you're back up and running, period, end of story. Now, the swap isn't that fast in the system. It might be an hour or 2 hours worth of work, but the part availability is there on their truck. That's the gold. That's the gold, because it's heat. And if it goes down, it's because it's being used. If it's being used, it's because it's cold. If it's because it's cold, it's because it's wintertime. It's because it's wintertime, it's because you need heat. So you've got to have that box there available on their truck. That's the key. Leo Perez, good morning. Good morning, Leo. I haven't seen your name before, so excited to see you here. KHPF 881, I remember you from last week. Thanks for coming. Good morning, sir. I seek your advice and call the lenders looking for a 90% LTV. Okay. One of them indicated yes, but later changed their stance, indicating the Fed rate rise has resulted in only 75% LTV. Yeah, so this is the first sign that the banks are starting to, I don't want to say de-lever, because they're not unloading yet. What they are doing is becoming more cautious, and they are walking back their ratios. 90% LTVs become 80 or 75. 53% debt to incomes become 41, and then they become 35, and then they become 31. So that's what you start to see, is the availability of credit start to become more difficult to come by. And the reason it starts to become more difficult to come by is because they're becoming more conservative. That's what you will start to see unfold. Steve Dave, hope you all are good on the first day of spring. Thank you, Steve Dave. I appreciate that. And to everyone else too. Crimson Knight, Sear Deli Fuel Company is on the IBC list. They deliver propane and have a replace your clunker program, which gives you $1,000 credit for replacing an old boiler. Okay. One of them is an American standard from 1968, right? When they used to know how to make stuff that lasted long. And a Wheel McLean. Yep. From the 80s. I think before they started listing the models on their website. Probably. Yep, probably. The one thing that you can find with them is I would be quoting out the install from a number of different vendors. That's what I would do. I would look at that list. I'd reach out to each of them and get a quote from each of them, and then look at the time frame associated with it, and then make decisions from there. That's what I would do. Kip Stevens, good morning, sir. Good morning, Kip. Hope the family is doing well, and thank you for everything you do. That's my pleasure, Kip. I appreciate it. If anybody asks why I don't do consulting, it's because this would be like the 3-hour block that I would do consulting in, and I would much rather impact 30, 50, or 100 people than only get 3 people that get my time. So, and you can ask your questions in the chat, and that way it can benefit everybody, because we're here to help everyone, or as many as we can get to. Hinman family, just met the neighbors at my first property. Turns out one of them works at seminary school in town. So the school wanted to buy the house when it was on the market to house students. Yep. Hadn't considered student housing. It's not a college town. Any thoughts on opportunities here? Just advertise it and see if I get students. Corporate lease to the seminary. I would. So I love students. They helped make me rich. One of the things so I had a building that a town wanted to buy, and I found out the town wanted to buy it. I read the notes. It got turned down at town committee like two times, I think it was. I went to them and said, hey, tell you what, I'll buy it, but you have to let me work within what's there. I can't be redoing a bunch of stuff for new code. Like safety, yes, but silly things like changing the angle of the stairs and making sure each one of the lifts is only 7.25 to 8 inches tall. The risers, no, I'm not doing that because it was a 100-year-old house and that would have required massive construction. The town was awesome. They said, yep, absolutely, we will work with you. I bought it, I built it, I finished it. The town was thrilled because I turned what was a crack house into now probably one of the nicest homes in the area, and certainly the nicest one downtown. And then I'm thrilled because the town worked with me. So I would be contacting the seminary school directly. What I would do in preparation, Hinman family, of contacting the school directly is I would be looking at, you need to know 3 things. One is what your average area market rents are, number 1, okay? That's really important. Number 2 is understanding, you can ask them, do you guys already have a budget in mind for this? Or is this something where, what would be the process for something like this getting approved? Because obviously, location, you're very close by, and somebody that already works at the seminary is right next door, can kind of keep an eye on that place next door for not only for the school and the students that they know are there, although seminary students should be somewhat tame, not crazy. And so, yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely what I would do. I have a lot of college kids that I put through my places. So many people poo-poo college kids. I love college kids. We would give them a chance. I don't make their parents sign. I sign directly with them because I don't want to call from the parents complaining about some little thing that Johnny's going through. Don't care. I'm not a guidance counselor. I am your landlord. I'm there. If something breaks, I fix it. That's simple. And I give you a really nice place that's, in the top 10, 15% of what's available in that market. So yeah, that's what I would do, Hinman family. Oh, and the third thing is really understanding what even your Section 8 number is. I don't know how Section 8 runs or voucher program runs in your city. It could be really towards the top. It could be way below. It could be even higher. Like some people are like, I always send my units to Section 8 because the rate that they pay is crazy good. Usually not the case, but just be informed as much as you can be about what the rent should be when you're talking to them about it, and then ask them, did they have something in mind? That's where I would start. Because quite frankly, if you find the market rent is $2,200 and they say, yeah, we'd like to be around $1,500 a month, you can say, really appreciate that, but just to keep, to be on the same page with you, you might be able to find something for that $1,500, but market really is kind of 22 to 24. I'd be willing to work with you guys if you wanted to sign a multi-year lease. What you could do too is you could see if the school is going to be paying for it. That's one thing, right? If the school is paying for it versus the students, that's a beautiful thing. But then you can also talk to them about, you could do a 1-year lease with them with you could do an option to renew, but you don't have to. I just think you start off with a 1-year lease, see what it's like to work with them. If it's awesome, then guess what? I would do it. And then I would try and do a longer term lease, but you would do something with some sort of a rent rise cap to it. Or you could tack, you could tack it to like CPI or something to that effect. So a lot of options for you there, but definitely it starts with understanding what that market rent is and then calling them and having a good conversation. Steve Day, go figure. I'm doing a plumbing demo today to save $1,000 on a full replumb of my rental starting tomorrow. All the old cast iron has got to go. Steve Dave, I'm with you. Oh my word. Woo. Cast iron. I hate that. But for those of you who don't know, cast iron is usually your cucka pipe. It's the one that carries all your sewage from your house to the street. And so usually what was put in originally was either clay, believe it or not, clay, hardened clay, or then cast iron. And so the cast iron gets brittle over time. And so literally if there's any like low flow points in the pipe where the water just doesn't rush over, but it's actually kind of much more of a gradual pitch, the problem that you have is that you'll have sitting water there, and that over time will then rust through the pipes. And so what ends up happening is over time, you can actually get weakness on the bottom of a pipe. So I'll actually take like a screwdriver, not the metal part, but the handle part, and I'll whack, where I see flat pipe in a basement. When we're doing inspection, I whack it a little bit. I got to be honest. If it falls apart, I've had that happen. I'm just like, your line's bad. Sorry, line's bad. Yeah. In that particular case, it was part of the inspection. She had to call the owner and say, hey, a line, your sewer line just broke during inspection. So it does happen. It does happen. But yeah, cast iron pipe, it's super, super, super heavy. They'll see these massive hangers coming down off of your joist, holding that stuff up. The nice thing is you can replace it, but you should be replacing it with black PVC, as that is technically the rule. Black PVC is technically the rule. You should not be using white PVC, for those that need to know what the right thing to do is. So that being said, yeah, black iron, enjoy the project. But yeah, it could be a challenge. Could be a challenge. Steve J. Hansel, morning, Matt. Hope you're doing well and keep up the good job. Thank you, Hansel. I appreciate that. I saw a couple of your posts. I just haven't gotten to everything yet. It's been kind of a crazy week and getting prepped for the new 5-day appointment this week, but I promise I will get to them. But appreciate the comments on the videos. Oh boy, I have a lot of questions for him. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you gotta have the that kit on the truck. Yeah, Julie Anderson, good morning. Thank you for doing these. Julie Anderson, you're very welcome. Don Etherton. Hey, Don, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Congrats on the Business Insider story. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was excited. What was really funny is she did the interview. She asked me a bunch of the questions. I thought they were all great questions. I actually didn't have a problem with the way she kind of posed things. The only thing that I would say is I believe that an aggressive correction would be by the end of 22. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a 2023 thing, but I believe an aggressive correction, something else crazy happens, like they decide to do 50 basis points in April, 50 basis points in May. That's you're starting to get aggressive. And now you're over 5, in some cases over 6 for an investor loan. Yeah. At that point, we could start to see, the faster the rates rise, I think the faster you'll see it slow. And again, it's not one of these like a stock market. It's much more one of these, and what they make decisions on the rate side. And what we see going on in the economy and war is the speed by which things taper on the other side. That's what all these idiot crisis channels are getting wrong. Quite frankly, that's what they're all getting wrong. All of these crisis channels are getting wrong the fact that they think that housing does this. It just doesn't. It doesn't do that. So let's see. Can you share your experience why you think tenant late on rent for a month, then paid? How does that affect your decision on renewal with them? So Hansel, I think that's an awesome question. What I'm really looking at is why. I don't, every excuse isn't equal. If they were late a month out of a year, honestly, life happens, guys. If you have 70 or 80% of people living paycheck to paycheck, guess what? You're going to have somebody late on rent probably once. And that's okay. But it's just having the conversation. I've seen it where somebody was late once and then it became a consistent thing. And I just said, listen, this is going to affect you at time of renewal. You need to make sure that this needs to be a much more regular thing and an on-time thing. So I think that's a big thing. So once in a year, I'm not sweating it, but I am just having a quick conversation with them. The other thing too is I want to be notified up front. I am far more gracious with my tenants that let me know up front. Hey, just wanted to let you know, I know it's the 2nd or the 3rd. My rent is going to be another few days late because I had a major repair on my car. I'm really sorry, but I will get it to you. And then if it's there, then we're good. If it's not, then we need to, have further conversation. Usama Abdu. I hope that I said your name right. If I didn't, please correct me. Do I do any paid coaching or consulting? I don't. I make myself available Sunday mornings. I also answer questions in the interviews that I do on Tuesdays on One Rental at a Time, Thursdays with the Three Amigos on One Rental at a Time, and Dion Talk Financial Freedom. So I make myself pretty available. And then Friday videos that I do on my channel, I make myself pretty available. So I don't do any coaching or consulting on the side. In all due respect, just so you guys kind of understand, this is something I choose to do, not something I have to do financially. And quite frankly, if I did it for the financial reasons and what YouTube pays me, it's like a complete waste of my time. It's only to give back. That's it. It's only to give back. That's the purpose. So thank you, Usama Abdu, and welcome to the channel. Andrew P, good morning. Hey, morning, sir. Good to have you here. Tom Kine, one of my top 3 YouTubers with Dion Talk Financial, Financial Talk, bedtime stories, and the multitude of twerkers. Awesome. Google Voice bad. I figured. Usama Abdu. By the way, been checking out some of your videos after interview with UE. You are quite knowledgeable and pragmatic. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. It's a lot of fun. I really love doing this. If you can't tell, I'm passionate about it. I'm a 9th grade dropout. This is how I achieve financial freedom, financial independence. I can literally do whatever I want, largely speaking, legally. And I just want to share that with folks, and hopefully it encourages you. I bet I have less education than you. That's a pretty safe bet. I don't think there's anybody watching today that didn't get out of the 9th grade. I didn't. But I worked really, really hard. And I think a lot of you work really, really hard. But what I did early on in my career was I worked really, really smart too. So if I worked really hard and really smart and acquired skills, like I didn't know how to cut a 2x4. I didn't know how to measure a window. I didn't know how to measure a door. These are all things that I took the time to learn. So now when somebody gives me a quote and they're like, hey, here's the number. And I'm like, no, that's not the number. Give me a break. One of the things that I talked about was my formulas. So one of the things that I do is I don't pay so much by the project. Sometimes I do, depending on what it is. I don't pay so much by the hour. Sometimes I do, but not always. Often when I'm rehabbing a house, I pay by my algorithm that I've made, that I've created based on local rates. I haven't found a way to plug in the local rate number in other places, if that makes sense. But yeah, what I do is I basically pay. So I basically pay $1. Excuse me. I pay $1.20 a foot for baseboard to be installed, and that is just the carpenter going in there. I provide all the materials there on site. All he does is show up with his saw and his tools, and he starts cutting board and putting it in place. I pay $1.20 a foot. For windows, I pay the same $1.20 a foot for the window casing, and $1.20 a foot for the window framing. And if it's a sill, then I pay for that linear footage. And then if there's a skirt underneath it, which is a little board that you'll see underneath the sill, again, $1.20 a foot. For windows, I pay $20, or excuse me, $25 for installation of a window, and I pay $75 for the installation of a door. Again, windows there, I measured it, it's on site. Doors there, I measured it, it's on site. So that's what I pay. And guys are plenty happy with that. If they run into a problem where there's a problem with the fitment of the window, then they call me and just say, hey, listen, we got to work on the price only because for every one of these, this bottom sill is going to need work because you couldn't see it, but it's this, it's that, it's the other. I look at it, they send me pictures, they send me video, and then I'm like, okay, how much more, what do you think? What are you thinking? And so sometimes we've gone to 35. We had one where we had to go to 50 a window because of the way the sills were done. We literally, and of the way that the windows were ordered, these were ones I didn't measure, somebody else measured them. Every single one was off like a half an inch. So we had to go in there and basically a half an inch to an inch. Everyone had to be planed out, cleaned up. It was a ton of work. And so I recognized that. And so I think in that particular case, I was just like, all right, let's do 2 or 3 windows and kind of see where you are timeline wise. Then we renegotiate the price and boom, we were off and running. So that's how we did it. Leo Perez, I am from Orat family. Cool. Good to have you here. I've been following you and Zuber for a long time. Very cool. Well, thanks for attending and asking a question. Hinman family, Section 8 rents are 1050. Market is pro. Okay. Cool. Wow, look at all the questions. Holy Toledo, you guys got me good. Han Solo, how do you estimate the cost of converting the concrete patio area in a bedroom? What are things you advise to be on the lookout for? So concrete patio into a bedroom. I've never done it. Never done it, so I haven't been through the process. I would be talking to a construction company. My guess would be you would want to look at can you build on top of the slab? Can you build on top of that slab that's there? Is it not thick enough? Because some of the old slabs are super, super thick, and that's just as good of a footer as you would need. Others, they're gonna make you, other towns or construction companies are gonna make you jackhammer that all out and put something in. It really, really depends on what you're looking at there. So that project has too much variability for me to give you a fair and honest answer. But I would be talking to a couple construction companies, asking them what they think. Then I would be talking to the town and taking that construction plan to them and saying, hey, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I want to do. Which of these is going to be the acceptable, route for you? Because what you don't want is unpermitted space. You do not want unpermitted space. Because when you go to sell, if it's not permitted space, they either have to knock it down or go through the reverse process of permitting everything, which costs a bunch more. And you'll likely have to open up walls for plumbing, open up walls for electrical to prove an insulation, to prove what's been done. So I just recommend talking to a couple of construction firms and then talking to your town about those plans and seeing how that sits with them. That's what I would do. Okay. Hinman family, probably 1,100. Hard to know what student rent by the room would be because it's not really the market for that in town. Thanks for the answer. Hinman family, be very careful of rent by the room. It's illegal. It's considered a boarding house. Your town likely has rules against it, and the fines are extremely substantial. So what you'll want to do is not rent by the room. You'll want to talk to the college and talk to them about renting the property, because very easily the reason they could not have bought it was because they didn't have the down payment. That's usually what happens. And it usually then has to be approved through endowments and funds and the board and all of this other stuff. What you're far better bet is to just have a conversation with them about renting the house. Do not rent by the room. That is almost always, that's a major no-no when it's considered boarding house. The ways every single city has rules around that. In my city, you cannot rent by the room. Unless you are in boarding, or unless your house is in a zone that allows for boarding, which there are so few, it's not even funny. Now, that being said, what it does allow you to do is get everybody on the same lease and then joint and several liability. Everybody's on the lease, and then you can have them all sign like a roommate agreement. That is something that's allowable. You cannot rent by the room, all in the same lease, joint and several liability in my area. So check on that law, because I think you'll find that would be considered a boarding house. And if they consider that a boarding house, the fines are massive. Then you have to pay to move them. It gets very messy very quickly and very expensive. So yes, anyway, so that's what I would recommend, is not renting by the room. Keith Hager, cast iron is better than red clay pipe from the 50s. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. What do they call that stuff? Is it permacoat? Fern coat? No, it's a fern coat. think it might be permacoat. So it's paper. Yeah, it's paper. I kid you not. It was a thing in the 70s. I'd love to meet the engineer who came up with this thing. He'd have a rough day with me because it's cost me tens of thousands of dollars. This permacoat thing is like paper that they then tarred around, and they made that the connection between the stub on the outside of your house and the stub to the pipe that goes into what's called your plumbing chimney. Those are what almost always fail, and it's about a $5,000 repair. It's brutal. You have to pay for an excavator. You got to rip up what's ever there. You hope that the stub's not coming out into you hope it's coming out to your lawn and not into your driveway, because then you're having to do hot top on top of that, which I've had a couple of those. But that is almost always the part that fails. Because why? It gets crushed underground over time. It's paper with water going through it. Honestly, I think this is a good idea. This is really cheap. Yeah. Cheap to install, cheap to make, and wicked expensive to repair. Don Etherton, did you get the email about the Lamborghini I sent you? Yes, sir, I did. I haven't read it yet. I saw that you sent it, but I haven't read it yet. Literally, that article came out last night and my phone blew up because I honestly had no idea the article was coming. It was being published last week. I thought it was being published in a week or two. So it totally caught me off guard. John Texas, good morning. Good morning, sir. Crimson Knight, baseboard question. I have 3 bedrooms with really big square baseboard with no detail. It's about 1 inch wide, 7 inches tall in bedrooms and living room. I think it's the pine you were talking about. Okay. Yep. Kitchen has small colonial baseboard. Yeah, the big thing is it painted white or is it just stained? Leo Perez, when you are investigating a new market like us, now trying to find something near crazy Miami, holy cow, what metrics will you go by? These are smaller cities. What metrics will you put first? So I actually invest in smaller cities. So the largest city that I invest in is about 40,000 people. It's not that big, 35,000 people. The one next to it is about 15,000. I think it's about 15,000 people. And then the one next to that's 4,000. So I look at what we always look at, which is availability of jobs. Are they good jobs? Are those companies growing? Are they all in one particular sector or not? Like if you have only aerospace, well, guess what? If aerospace has a tough time, then everybody's going to be out of work and you might have massive unemployment in that area. So I look at jobs. I look at market rents. And a big component of whether or not I'll invest there is the return on capital that I'm getting. You know, that's a big, that's probably the biggest thing aside from making sure that there's not one employer. We had one major employer 3 towns south of us 30 years ago. It was an Air Force base. 30 years ago, they closed that Air Force base. Guess what happened to the town? It basically imploded. All of the base housing was then available because the government was basically then selling stuff off. So you had a massive influx of available rental units. And you had all the people living off base that then all of a sudden disappeared. So that economy absolutely cratered. And it cratered for probably a good decade. Now, that market is on fire, like most markets, but that market's on fire with crazy appreciation. Like $1 million 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot condos, like just stupid pricing. I think those people get hurt personally, financially. I think those people get hurt. So hopefully that answers your question. If I didn't, Leo, please feel free to add. But the real metrics that I continue to always look at are, I want to understand the employers in the area. I want to understand, that it's not in one vertical. And I want to then look at what the returns are that I'm getting. If a great deal in a market is giving me a 2% return, I just find it really hard to get excited about that. Unless you're getting a 2% return on a $2 million piece of property that you put $400,000 down on, and now you're getting 2%. Well, guess what? That's not that much. I mean, that's why it's really got to be, you got to see something there in the solid return. It's really about that cash flow. cash is not king. Cash flow is. Cash flow is critically important. The Riley A-OK. Hey, the Riley A-OK. Have you done a cash out refinance more than once on the same property? Yes. I have. Yep. Oh, yeah. I don't want to own them outright. The taxes on the income, the liability. If somebody wants to sue me and try and take my house, the bank's not going to help me out. Well, guess what? If the bank owns 70% of my asset, I have a natural partner in my preservation. That's a smart idea. Not many people talk about. But thank heavens I'm here on a Sunday morning. So I think that's very important. Yep, I totally agree. Let's see. Crimson Night. Kitchen has small colonial baseboard. Yep. Should I do that pine in the kitchen instead of the 7.25 MDF in the kitchen and paint the old one, assuming it has no lead? Yeah, I just for me, I like conformity. It helps with flow. So if I'm doing 7.25 baseboard, I'm doing it everywhere. That's me. If you're trying to be budget conscious, you can change that up. But if you think about it, right? If the baseboard's $1.19 a foot or call it $1.20 a foot, install is about $1.20 a foot. Paint, you can do yourself. Caulking, you can do yourself. So even if you have to pay a guy a day to show up and bang out, a few rooms of baseboard, or if you do it yourself, I mean, for me, the few $100, I'd rather have that conformity, because think about the trim board that's there now. How long did that last? That's been there forever, right? It's been there 40, 50 years a lot of times. So if something's been there that long, it's fair to assume that the next one's going to probably be there that long. And I just want conformity. Again, it's a pretty inexpensive way. Paint, trim, changing out outlets and switches and plates is a pretty inexpensive way to make a place look brand new. A lot of times that portion of my budget will be $8,000 between redoing all the trim and paint and like 8 to 10 grand for pretty much any of my places. That makes a place look brand spanking new. Like electrician comes in and he can swap out, and then we get confirmation everything works. So he can swap out all the plates or swap out all the outlets and switches. We can then also put in some motion switches, which I like to do. Yeah. In some cases, some smart switches, like it's a really old home that doesn't have a switch on the wall, but there's a light in the center. I can put a Bluetooth switch in. Bluetooth switch costs about $50. Electrician time costs about $75. So for $125, I've now fixed a problem that would have been a problem forever. And likely something silly like that would have somebody go, oh, it's such a pain. I got to pull the string in the middle of the room. That's awful. Like, give them a brand new experience. Sorry, guys, got to make sure to keep the throat liquefied, because if I don't, I won't last. The good news is that Dean's still got the vodka. It's all good. If you need pictures, I'll post. Yeah, you can post them in the ORAC group, or Crimson. You can also get into the Three Amigos of FI. So there's two groups. There's One Rental at a Time on Facebook. That's a paid group. So you have to take Mike's course, pay for Mike's course, One Rental at a Time's course to get into that group. Dion and I also offer another group with Mike, the Three Amigos. That's for our Thursday sessions. A lot of times what we talk about there, we give people a place to go kind of talk about that, ask questions. So you can also post that in the Three Amigos. It's the Three Amigos of FI. And so there's that Facebook group as well. It's a lot of fun, and we always answer a ton of questions in there too. So we've been going at this for about 45 minutes. For those of you new to the channel, my name is Matt. I'm the Lumberjack Landlord. As you can see, we just talk a lot about real estate. I'll answer all your questions. I got a little bit behind, but I'm getting caught up. There's only a few left that I'm behind on. So as we get into these, yeah, I'm here to answer all of your questions and make sure that, share my journey with you. So if you can learn something from one of my mistakes, go for it. Do Niles Patel. Hey, Niles, good morning to you. Thanks for your time and giving back. It's all gold. I appreciate that. It certainly is all experience. That's for sure. Dion talk financial freedom. Other than healthcare, what will be the big changes when you stop working? What time I wake up in the morning? No, not what time I wake up in the morning. What time I go to bed? What time I go to bed? I'm up in the morning with my kids a lot. What time? But what time I go to bed will be the biggest change, because that's usually late at night. So I will work during the day, but then spend time with my kids for dinner and bedtime, and then spend time with Mrs. Lumberjack, spending good couple time together. Sorry, Mr. Bobblehead. And then I'll do more work late at night. So that's what will change the most. That's what will change the most. I'm very excited for it. It's been I've had an amazing 25-year career in software. I worked with a lot of great people. I've worked with some people that completely suck. And quite frankly, I'm happy that I'll never have to see them again. But it was a great career. It was a great ride. I've been super blessed to have been as successful as I was, and had as much fun working with a number of people that are close to me. So yeah, it's been amazing relationships, which is what it's really a lot about. So that's what it is. Matt Herbert, good morning, Matt. Hey, good morning, Matt Herbert. You find that next project yet, sir? It's tough out there. Crimson Knight, does your formula work for Nashua and Manchester? It should. Yep, it should. It might not work. It might not work now because of what the economy is doing, but my guys are used to that framework. So, and again, they're weekend warriors. So a lot of times they'll be going in there. Like I have one Finnish guy who goes in Thursday nights at 5:30, Tuesday nights at 5:30, Thursday nights at 5:30, then works all day Saturday. And that's usually when I get him. So for like a small trim project, that's perfect. If it's a bigger trim project, it's usually two weeks of that or 3 weeks of that. But I'll have other guys doing other things. So I'm not like waiting on him for the 3 weeks to do that. Now I could have it done by a pro crew and they could come in and bang it out, and they'd probably be 3 times as much. I can have him do it. He's happy getting the rate. I'm happy paying his rate. And I have other guys doing other work during that process. Like when he's doing that, I can have siding being done on the outside. I can have, a myriad of things. So what it really comes down to is becoming a very, very, very good project manager. And that's where I crush. I crush at managing multiple disciplines and seeing how they all fit in together and seeing how none of them should be bumping into each other. So it's picking when you do projects. And that is definitely an art for sure. Clearly something's stuck in that. Okay. Ronald Zion, good morning. Hey, good morning, Ronald. Oh, I appreciate your comment on the video too. I saw that. Thanks very much. Haven't responded back yet, but saw that you commented. So I appreciate that. Guys, keep the questions coming. These are great questions. Anna K, good morning, everyone. Hey, good morning, Anna. Anna always bringing a ray of sunshine. I appreciate that. John Doe, hey, Matt, have an opportunity to rent to a divorced wife of a doctor who lives on alimony, probably never lifted a finger, potentially a real pain in the you-know-what. Thoughts? Run. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my word. The potential pain, you have no idea the potential pain, because she's a person of means, which means they have attorneys that do things for them. Or she will call her ex and ask him to do something and he doesn't want to do it. He just got rid of her, right? You have no idea how that relationship ended. I can tell you 2 of the 3 worst tenants I ever had that completely destroyed my houses. 2 out of 3 were, and again, I'm not trying to offend anybody, Everybody's different, but these are the facts. Not made up. These are the facts. 2 out of 3 of the worst tenants I ever had that destroyed my houses to the tune of over $5,000 in damages, 2 of the 3 were freshly divorced females. I did it because I had a divorced mom. I wanted to help people like that out. Holy Toledo. Now, again, these are unique cases. These are specific to them. They were of the ilk of this person, probably never lifted a finger, didn't really know what to do. Every little thing. I got calls for light bulbs. I got calls because the door swelled and now stuck a little when you close it. Like just a myriad of things. Stink bugs. Matt, we have stink bugs. So do I. Stink bugs is not a landlord problem. Not a landlord problem. So those were the things. Those were the issues. Those were the issues that absolutely, it was brutal. The only type of tenant that has been as needy, I guess is probably the right way of saying it, that's been as needy has been the Section 8 tenants that I've gotten. Holy Toledo was off the charts. And again, I even tell people, I give them an introduction letter, I move them in, I say, now keep a list over the first week. If there's an emergency, like Dion says, fire, flood, or blood, call me right away. Fire, flood, or blood, call me right away. Fire, flood, blood, call me right away. However, anything else, put in an email and send me the list, and then I'll have one of my guys go over and bang out a bunch of things on the list. They never listen to the instructions. They always text me with every little thing. And I'm just like, you need to send me an email. You need to send me an email. You need to send me an email consistently. So consistently, that's been the problem, consistently. So John, consider yourself warned. Don Etherton, Han Solo, generally patio do not have the footer, which needs to be below the frost line. You need to anchor bolts to tie the structure to the foundation. Might be easier just to start now. Yep, I agree with Don. Again, I would talk to a couple of construction companies and then run it by the city, just because that makes you a good citizen and you don't want to get on your city's bad side. Yes. Round Zion. What type of attic installation do you recommend for a rental? So guys, one of the things that people ask me a lot is rental versus what I would put in my own house. I put the same things in because I want good quality. I want good quality. I'm not trying to cheap out. And so if I'm buying a house as an investment for 20 or 30 years, the labor costs me right now, it costs me the same to put in good product as it does to put in bad product. Fast forward 10 years, right? Wages are that much more. Product is that much more. And if I'm replacing some garbage product, I'm likely doing it way sooner than I should have to. I'm paying a much higher rate for not only for the product, but guess what? Also for the service. So please don't buy crappy product. Buy great product. Buy good products. I install Delta and Kohler faucets. Usually Kohler sinks unless I'm doing a farmer sink, and then I've used Zune for a long time. They're pretty good. My countertops, same thing every single time. I don't buy the thin ones that go over the plywood. I use real thick granite. My cabinets, I don't buy cheap, junky cabinets. The cabinet company that I work with has 2 lines that are cheaper than the line that I use. I want that higher end cabinet. Do you know how many cabinets we've had to replace? We've had to replace, like we just replaced a set of hinges on a Lazy Susan. That's like the first thing that I remember buying and having to replace for those types of cabinets. So again, I strongly encourage you, the cost to install 10 years from now when you're replacing some garbage product, or even 3 years from now. Sorry, that was me kicking the camera stand. you're better off buying great product. You just are. You just are. So I recommend great product. And so the insulate to that end on the insulation, it really depends on how high end you want to go. You can go really high end. You can do closed cell foam. In an older home, closed cell foam is great because it increases the architectural integrity and rigidity of your home about 300%. So I like to use closed cell foam in my gut redos when I'm redoing a house that's 120 years old, because you also get, I think it's 7.1 R value per inch. So when you only get 3 inches, you're over 21. And that's what you're going to get in a 3-inch or an old 3-inch, what's called stick or stud. But I call them sticks because they really are like tree sticks. So that 7.1 or 7.1 to 7.3 R value depends on how they're spraying it. That 7.1 to 7.3 R value will give you your most zoning is R19, but now they're moving to R21. Well, if you have that, you're good. But again, put in better product, you're going to have lower heat bills. You're going to have lower heat bills. Your tenant pays the heat and they realize, man, this place is like half the price of our old place. Yeah, exactly. That's why people stay forever. That's why they stay forever. So I like closed cell foam, very expensive. The next step down from closed cell foam is open cell foam. Much less expensive than closed cell foam, but still more expensive than like fiberglass bats. I don't like fiberglass bats. Fiberglass bats to me, and a bat is just a section. Fiberglass bats to me, pests, rats, mice, squirrels, whatever, they get in there and they make a freaking mess. So I like the next step up from that, which is like Roxol or rock wool. But Roxol is a bat that you can get in R19, R21, R23, and R30 R values. R30 is for your ceilings and for your roofs. R23 really ranges where you can use it in, depends on the code. Sometimes that can be like garages and things like that. Really ranges. R19 and R21 is your typical wall. But I like that stuff too, because you can actually do, I've seen it where you've, and again, talk to your installers, but those are the products I've used. But that is a press fit product. You can literally press it right into the bay. Somewhere in there is, and that's if you have open walls. If you have closed walls, there's really kind of three main applications. One is blow-in. They pop a couple siding pieces off your house. They put a port on there and they blow a bunch of insulation in. Don't love that. I love the next step up from that, which is called cellulosic hard pack, which is they blow it in and then they actually take a special tool, they put it in the hole and then they jam it, hard pack it down. I like that. Gives you the R value that you need. You will see an instant improvement in your heating bills, or your tenants will see an instant improvement in their heating bills. I had one house that was about $4,000 a year in heating. It was a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids and they were home all the time. But it went from about $4,000 to about $1,600 just by doing that closed cell hard, or just by doing the cellulosic hard pack. The last option is they actually have foam that you can port into a wall. I haven't done it yet. I haven't seen the pricing yet, but that's something that we're going to consider in a couple of projects we have coming up this summer. So problem solved. See, you just stay engaged and you can solve almost any problem. Okay. So attic insulation. I just gave you guys a complete tutorial on insulation. I should probably call my editor and say, take that out because it's really good content. But so all of those content pieces for attic, you would do a couple things. You can do the blow-in. I don't like because it's really heavy pest opportunity. You can do Roxol, which I love because if it's a newer home, it's probably standard size and you can get 16 on center R30 or 24-inch on center R30. I personally like the Roxel, and it's a project that you probably can do yourself. So I actually like that stuff a lot. And that stuff is also anti-pest. You can't, rats can't eat it, mice can't eat it, so they can't burrow into it and make a home. So yeah, I like that stuff. And then you can throw plastic over it or plastic under it. I mean, there's a bunch of things you can do there. So yeah, very good stuff. Yes. William Batista, good morning. Hey, William, good morning. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. Ron Zion, congrats on the Business Insider article. Hey, thanks very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, good new Business Insider article. We had one like 3 weeks ago about my journey, about the 4-3-2-1 strategy. And then this newest article that was released yesterday was specifically about my seven-figure refis. Yes, 7 figures. Baseboard in the bedroom is stained baseboard and the kitchen is small, painted white, and looks cheap. Yeah, I'd pop it. Crimson, if I were you, I'd pop it all and make it match. That's what I would do. Pallavi, hey, Pallavi Patel, good morning. Appreciate you stopping by. Pallavi is one of our regulars here. Super excited to have you. So many folks are regulars here, which is a lot of fun. Okay, I'm going to burn through a bunch of questions here because holy cow, did I get behind. William Batista, in an environment where rates are spiking up, I'm considering doing an 80 granny flat conversion on the garage. That being said, would appraisal disregard the upgrade completely without permits? Yes, they would. And your town would hunt you down and they'd start finding you every day. Do not do that. Get permits, please. It will save you a ton of pain. Jernil Diaz, morning, Matt. Can you explain more about short sales and how long the process is? The short sale process is forever. I've bought houses in short sales, so here's what I can tell you my experience was. However, short sales have not been a thing for probably 12 years, 12 or 13 years. A short sale is where you owe the bank $400,000 on the home. The market has corrected and it's well below that. Let's say it's worth, based on what other stuff is selling for, $300,000. You go to the bank and say, hey, listen, you're going to foreclose on me. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to try and market the property and have it, put it up for sale and just say that it's a short sale. Number one, you have to get the bank or the asset manager to approve you doing a short sale. Number two is then any offer that you get then gets sent to the bank, and then the bank sends it through a whole line of people figuring out if they want to let this asset go for, let's say, 300. They're like, nope, we think it's worth 350. We won't let you sell it for 300, because what ends up happening is you're not the one losing the money. The bank is agreeing to lose the money, sell it short, sell it short of what they're owed. Think of it that way. They're selling it short of what they are owed. If they're selling it short for what they are owed, they're going to do everything they can to get as much as they can for obvious reasons. Where that matters to you, the seller, is that let's just say that they do approve it. It's worth, you owe 400 on it. They take 300. Guess what? You now have a tax liability for that $100,000 that they forgave. You don't have to pay for it, but you owe the taxes on it. Do the math. It's taxed as income or debt forgiveness, but income. So if that happens, now you're looking at $100,000 gain that you now owe taxes on. That's how a short sale works. And here's the reason that they're not going to become a thing right now. Unless you bought your house in the last 120 days or 180 days, your house is worth more than what you paid for it. So they don't have to let you sell it short. If you went to call them and say, hey, I can't pay my mortgage anymore, they're like, okay, we'll start the foreclosure process. There's no reason for them to sell it short. They know that the house is worth more than what you've paid for it. So you can put it on the market and you can write a check, and they don't care. They'll foreclose. They don't mind. Guys, 22 likes. Is that all? Oh my goodness. I'm on fire this morning. I got to be honest. Like, I'm feeling it. It's all bull. It's all circular. Like, I feel like I'm crushing it right now. I feel like I'm in a zone. I could go until noon tomorrow, but I'm not going to. but not today. There you go, Dion. There's a nice outtake for you. He's the man. And how long is the process on a short sale? I had a deal that I was working on a short sale that took 8 months, 7 or 8 months. It took a lot. It takes forever. The chain of people that they have to go through, the approvals that they have to get. They have to validate that the market really is as bad as you say it is. Like, it is not good. It is not good. It took, but that house, if I had only done that one house, that's actually one that I did a video on. I have pulled $250,000 of refi money out of that house, and I've pulled $250,000 of rent out of that house. And yearly, that house still makes me net 25 or 30,000 bucks a year. Like, that one property duplex, that one duplex, if I just project it out until, let's say, 65 when I retire, or 65 when retirement age is, that one house will probably make me well in excess of $1 million. One house. And I'll still own the asset. That's the crazy thing. And the house at that point, if just, things continue on any sort of a 3 to 4% trajectory, I know it's way higher now, but they just average that over the next 20 years. Then yeah, I'm probably like, that house is probably $1 million home. So I will have taken $1 million of cash out of it. I will have an asset that's worth $1 million that I can then sell. Like, that one property would make somebody a multi-millionaire if they knew to do that and go through all the pain that I went through to get that short sale approved. Okay. Permits approval alone are taking 3 months. William Batista. Yep, they are. They are. One thing you can ask your city is, can I start the work waiting for my permit? Can I start the work waiting for my permit? But before we get to the first inspection, I would just stop. That's one thing you can ask. I've done that where the city was like, yeah, we're 3 months for permits. I did that process. I got to the point that I needed to get to where I needed inspections. It took me about a month to get to that point. So I didn't waste a month, number one. Number two is I said, hey, it's Matt. I need to do blah, blah, blah. I need you guys to inspect this whenever you guys can get it on there. I've already got the permit in for approval. Guess what they did? I got them to send the inspector out, take a look, him take notes. Still hadn't gotten the permit yet, but it didn't stop me from working. I then did another month's worth of work where I then needed to have everybody come back and take a look at the finishes of everything. I still hadn't got my permit. They go, where's the permit for me to sign? I go, he filled out the whole list, everything for the rough. I sent them an email saying, hey, thanks for going through, blah, blah, blah. They sent everything back. Guess what ended up happening? I had all of the work basically done by the time I got the permit, but I was done. And the city allowed me to do that. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. Oh, this is a great contact. They'll always get my attention. Well, almost always. Karen Mulder. Hey, Karen, good morning. All right, well, now let me scare myself and how many questions I'm behind. Holy Toledo. Karen Mulder. Hi, Matt. Question. If hiring a licensed handyman versus contractor to lay flooring, paint, etc., and I buy materials and he gets hurt on the job, is this covered by his insurance? Number one, you need to make sure that he has the insurance. Yep. And I would, yes, you want him to have insurance, and I would have him send you an insurance certificate. Who buys the materials doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yep, doesn't matter. But you need to make sure that he has a certificate of insurance or not, and just know that that's the risk that you're going into. I don't tell people how to do business. But I also have a workman's comp policy that I'm working. I hadn't before, but it's one that I'm getting now. Somebody hurt themselves, 1000% their fault. And he was like, well, he's like, do you have insurance? And I was like, I don't. I thought you had insurance. No, I don't. Oh, okay. We had a very frank conversation and he was fine with that. And, it took him a doctor's office visit. So, but, and it was 1000% his fault. I was like, well, I buy safety glasses, I buy gloves, I buy hats, and you weren't using any of them. Yeah, they do. They make me sweat. They're there to protect your eyes. Like, yeah, nice guy, but I mean, come on. I can't be there on site babysitting and making sure they're wearing all their equipment. So, Jernil Diaz. Oh, Carlos Gomez. Good afternoon. Hey, Carlos. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Jernil Diaz, what is your strategy once property has been fully depreciated? So I don't get to take depreciation based on my income. So I haven't taken depreciation on a lot of my assets. However, that's changing because my wife, Mrs. Lumberjack, she is now a real estate professional. So we will be able to take that depreciation. And so I don't know the answer to that question, Jernil, because I've not gotten to that point of my strategy yet. For me right now, it always comes down to income, cash flow. That's what it comes down to for me. Cash flow. Man, great questions today, guys. Man, you're on fire. Like, you are making me on fire today. This is awesome. These questions are killer. Love it. Love it. William Batista. Great question, Jernil. See, I love it. Awesome. Love that stuff, guys. Love it. William Batista, back to original question value without ADU is $600, but is $600K, but with it 700K approximately. So again, weighing the fact that yes, it'll be valued higher, yet limited due to higher rates. True, but what's the plan? Is the plan to flip it and sell it, or is the plan to then rent out that granny flat? Renting out that granny flat and having that income there, that's the game changer, my dude. That's the game changer. Crimson Knight, changing out outlets is cheap until you need to rewire the kitchen because it's not up to code. Yep. Like when one 20 amp countertop outlet is using 14.2 and the other leaves more than 12 inches of countertop. Yeah, it does happen. It does happen for sure. But again, day of electrician, right? One day of an electrician can bring any kitchen up to code. It's really not that hard because the panel, unless you have a finished basement, largely the panel's in the basement's wide open. And so running any line is going to be right up through the floor. Super easy. Don't let them fool you. It's not a hard job to rewire a kitchen. It just really, truly isn't. Because you know where your plates are and you can always set up that drill bit. Like I said, you connect, you shut off the electricity and they then do their thing. I'm not going to explain it because I'm not liable for it, but they'll do their thing. The electricians do their things. Roldan Crespo. Hey, Roldan. Thanks for ongoing commitment to share your knowledge. Oh, man, I'm happy to. Appreciate you guys. REI Stoners, morning, Matt. Hey, good morning, guys. Super excited you guys are here hanging out with us. Good group today. 36 likes. I'm liking it. Hopefully we didn't offend too many people today. But yeah, it's fun nonetheless. Crimson Knight, space open and is up on a shared circuit and not dedicated 20 amp. Yeah, but again, I mean, so anytime you're looking at any sort of like a kitchen rewire, honestly, it's probably one of the easiest rooms. It has the most wires going to it. Depending on where your panel is, it's the most time consuming, but it's one of the easiest. There's a difference. It's time consuming because you have the rules for how far you are away from water and that needing to be a dedicated circuit. And then the other outlets that you have. And one of the things that I do too is I will actually put in outlets with USB fast charging ports on them on the kitchen counter. Why do I do that? Because it's smart. People are hanging out in the kitchen. They want the cord, plug in, boom, my phone's there. You know, dad's washing the dishes, mom's making dinner, whatever, right? Someone's doing meal prep. You got your phone right there. It's sitting there charging. Then you go sit at the dinner table, boom, your phone's fully charged. Love that. Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is a prototype of the lumberjack landlord bobblehead. Is investing in real estate awesome? He's quite passionate. So this is Little Lumberjack. LLL, triple L. That's his nickname, triple L, Little Lumberjack. But this is a prototype. This is the first sign that recession's happening around the world because I'm not that skinny. And my arms aren't that tiny. But yeah, this is the prototype. We'll be doing these. We're going to make a couple of these. We're going to be making more of these. We actually have them coming from more companies. So I'm just waiting to see what the quality is. And again, I'm not one of those narcissistic guys who needs a doll of myself, but my kids, I wanted to do something my kids could really have fun and love. And so my kids love this stuff. They love the lumberjack stuff. They all have clothes. You know, Samuel will ask to wear his lumberjack shirt. I'm all for it. So yeah, I like to do it because we get to do it with my kids. So I'm not a narcissist. I really don't need a bobblehead of myself. Rocky Sandu. Hey, Rocky. Good morning. Good morning from Canada. Good morning, Rocky from Canada. I love Canada. And even though, so I bet most people don't know what the national sport of Canada is. And don't answer. Actually, answer down below. But if you're from Canada, don't answer. So if you're from the US, try and guess what and don't look it up. Try and guess what the national sport of Canada is. I think it's very, very interesting. Keith Hager, handyman, do you need a workman's comp waiver? Yeah, so so if they don't have insurance and you want them to work at your house, I would do a waiver. Me personally, I don't like waivers. I want them to just have insurance. Like, hey, I won't sue you if I get hurt. Great. I really just rather you have insurance. Like most workman's comp, even for handyman, is like $400 to $600 a year. It's not that expensive. It's when you start doing like, if you add roofing to that list, it gets very expensive. But for like, you know, repairs, painting, garbage removal, or just like general repair stuff, it's usually a really cheap policy. So I would have you quote that out first and foremost. I don't like waivers. Image when the COC people find that one out, what they will do to me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, COC, certificate of compliance. Yep. Matt Herbert, I've looked at 5 or 6 different multis, but I haven't found anything where the numbers work yet. Yeah, so Matt Herbert's one of the investors in my state, along with Crimson Knight. Those guys are both investors in New Hampshire, different areas, but pretty much everything is pretty unaffordable at this point. It's definitely tough to find something that's worth touching. Shar, congratulations on the Business Insider article. Hope it inspires others to get a great deal, not just any deal. Thanks, Shar, very much. I appreciate that. I think it really is important to do great deals. But again, because I can tell you, you're going to do a good deal or you're going to do a average deal. And then this unbelievable, it will happen like on your way home from the closing table is when you will see that and you'll be like, oh my goodness. So yeah, yes. Yep. Totally get it. Truly agree. So for me, I'm not in a position where I have to do a deal. I'm in a position where I really only want to do great deals. G Glover. Hey, G Glover. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I missed REI Stoners. REI Stoners. Okay. How do you look up the property tax on a property you are running the numbers on? So great question. You can look at, depending on what your city has, your city should have a tax roll based on property where there's a system you can actually go look it up and see. There is where it's something called a tax card. Sometimes that's city-based, sometimes that's county-based. It depends on what state you live in, depends on what city you live in, what town you live in. But there will be something called a tax card. Look at that tax card and that will show you. What will also show you on there is if you see that the footprint of that house doesn't match that picture and there's no improvements there in the improvement section, guess what? That was probably unpermitted. And they might, I had one place that was counting square footage. So I had one where it was like 600 square feet, 600 square feet. They didn't permit it. It was a third floor of the house. They didn't meet egress on the windows, like not good, not good. Nope, not good. So I then alerted them, and then hell ensued. I was just like, it's not permitted. I was like, it's, I mean, you can go through the permit process, but it's a legal space, number one. Number two, it's a complete and total safety hazard. They didn't put smokes upstairs in those two rooms. They didn't have egress. Two forms of egress, which is basically 5.7 square feet of a window that's either a single pane or a section of a window being 5.7 square feet. So you can actually get out in case of a fire. And if it's a third floor, then you actually have to have a stoop that they can sit on for that way, because it could take up to X amount of time for the fire department to get there and then get you out. It was just a bunch of things. And so I was like, yeah, it's like, so yeah, we found that, and we had to go through a process. They ended up having to take it off the market. I wasn't trying to ruin their day. I wanted to buy the property, but it wasn't legal. So tax card. Yep. That's where you find them, is on the tax card, either city or county, and it should be online somewhere. Either the tax assessor's office, they'll have a tax card that you can check out. A lot of times they're online. Sometimes they're not, and you have to go in the office. G Glover, 40-year fixed mortgage paying only interest for the first 10 years. This would be great for house hacking, given the terms are straightforward. So yeah. Yeah, I'm one of those guys on the 40-year. If you're smart, you can crush it with that program. If you're smart. If you're not smart, it will be your undoing. Because what it ends up really doing is, if you ever had to sell, well, you better hope the market's appreciated. Because if the market hasn't appreciated, you're probably underwater, right? That's one thing to keep in mind, because it costs about 8% of a house's value to sell it, between realtor fees and tax stamp fees and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's one thing to consider. So yeah, if you're smart, the only thing that the 10 years of interest only is you're not paying down any principal. So if the market doesn't go up and you have to sell, you're underwater. For a much longer period of time, for 10 years instead of because in the Great Recession, what most people don't look at is there wasn't this massive crash in a day. It was the housing market prices nationally went down for 5 years. Housing prices nationally went down for 5 years. It's in the numbers. It wasn't 1 year. In fact, the worst year was either 8.7 or 8.9% nationally. So even the worst year on record, nationally, nothing went down 10%. That's why these morons calling for 50%, and I'll say morons, that's stupid. Look at historically. Have you ever seen a 50% crash in specific markets? Yes, but they said widespread. They said the entire the entire nation's in a housing bubble at 50%. No, it's not. Even 30%. No, it's not. No, it's not. Nationally, over 5 years, the market went down about, I think it was about 18%, 18 or 19. Some markets were heavily affected. Our market wasn't really heavily affected. All right. Whew, it's a busy day, but I love it. Great questions, guys. Great questions. But yeah, G Glover, the 40-year fixed. So for that reason, for house hacking, yeah, it's really good. Like I said, I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of programs out there that people can leverage to create financial freedom. You just got to understand the risk. Please understand the risk. 10 years interest only. If you need to sell it in that 10 years, you're likely underwater and having to write a check. However, if you've been house hacking, if that's your primary residence. However, if you've been house hacking at your primary residence, you've been making absolute tons of money off of your tenants, off of your roommates. That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, it's about, the issue is that there's no one product out there that solves everybody's issue and makes them financially smart. You can get that loan and still be a financial moron and use it the wrong way and do the wrong thing. If you're taking that extra capital and then taking the money that you're not rent, you're not house hacking, and you're just like, yeah, but it allowed me to buy a more expensive house. That's wrong. That's the wrong way to use it. Because if you have to sell because of any reason that first 10 years, you better pray that the market went up. What happens if the market went down? Then you're even more stuck. So it really depends. If that 40-year mortgage is only 3.5% down, like a typical Fannie Freddie, whew, or conventional 5 or 10, whew, that could be scary. That could be scary, guys. That could be scary. But I refied 9 properties and then 10 properties, created a 7-figure event from each of them. The first 7 figures is all reinvested. The next 7 figures is not, but I am ready for if people decide to start doing these 40 years or adjustable rate mortgages, and then they fall out in 3 years or 4 years. It's okay. And my cash flow will continue to pay in. And worst case scenario is if I have a couple of my non-fixed mortgages that are commercial loans, if one of those is about to reset and I don't like the terms, then I'll pay off a big chunk of it. And I'll then get a mortgage on a much smaller chunk and then bigger income and all that other good stuff. So that's where the real key is. I love getting video of my guys working. This means one guy is filming the other guy. My answer back, get to work. That's funny. Poor guy. So funny. One guy filming the other guy. Awesome. Love it. Crimson Knight, do you accept tenants who have good income but okay credit, but the credit problem happened in 2019, 2020? Now all their accounts have been current and on time for the last 2 or 3 years. What was the event that in 1920 got them off course? You got to understand the information of why that got off course. If you understand what that is, then you can calculate yourself whether or not that will happen again. Was it they lost their job and X happened and Y happened and Z happened? Okay, then maybe. If it's one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, just got behind, we had a couple big expenses. And then you find out that it was like 3 vacations. Well, like if they care that little, then it's going to happen again. So that's what gives you the opportunity to kind of figure that out. Okay. John, Texas. If you're working with contractors for the first time, how do you structure paying them? Holy cow. 1 second. My kids are slamming a door that they found. They learned how to shut doors gently, but then my son learned that shutting a door quickly made it loud. Don't do that. Oh, I love him. He's the best. How do you structure paying your contractors? I buy material so they don't get anything up front. Nope. Why do I need to pay you up front? To show up? No. Nope. Absolutely not. What I do is I pay them. It depends on what the job is. If it's a roof, I hire crews that get them done in a day. So as soon as they're done and I've seen it, I give them a check. The rule for me is as soon as you are finished a job, you can request payment as soon as you're done. Yep. So if you call me at 5 o'clock and you're like, hey, finish the job, it's all set. I'll say, okay, within 24 hours, I'm going to check it out and I'll have a check ready for you. Unless there's something that needs to be taken care of. Depends. So the only time that it's a multi-tiered check is sheetrockers. I'll pay them after everything's been hung, and then I'll pay them again after everything's been mud and taped. Painters, kind of the same thing, except usually a paint job doesn't take more than a week for an entire house inside. I'm trying to think of anything else that drags out. That's about it. If you want to give me a specific example, John, give me one and I'll answer it how I would do it. Crimson Knight 921. Insulation is not made to look nice. It's there to keep house warm and pipes from freezing. Get good insulation. Broken pipes are much worse than spending more on insulation. True story. Yep. Yep, for sure. And the slightest little breath of cold air in a wintertime over a pipe consistently is enough to freeze it and burst it. So keep that in mind. Hey, it's JC Blast. Hey, Matt, how have you ever used private money? How would you structure a private money deal? So I have used private money, but the way that I structured it was not, for me, it was not attached to a specific asset. It was, they knew that I was a real estate investor. I think I took a $60,000 loan from them, and that was basically to help fund a project. But it wasn't tied specifically to the project. Now I paid a bigger rate, but I knew that I could get it done. And so I think it was 10%. 10%. I paid them their interest monthly. And then at the end of the project, I said, do you want your 60 grand back, or do you want to let me use it again? And so for 2 or 3 years, I used it pretty consistently on almost all my deals. And then burn my check back. Yes. So that's how I do it. DSG Label. Hey, DSG Label. I don't think I've ever seen you here before. Awesome to have you. Roxel is fireproof too. It's actually made of rock. It is. It's actually made of lava rock. Yeah, it's very cool product. I love it. I've never had a pest problem with it. It's a good sound control thing too. In fact, on the party wall, they make a product called Safe and Sound. So on the party wall of a duplex, I will actually put Safe and Sound all up and down, all up and down. I have a contractor telling me all the amazing things that they're going to do for me. Love it. Sounds awesome. Big fan. William Batista, the like button. Thank you, William. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you think I've earned it, I think I'm crushing it. I think your guys' questions are getting a fantastic session today. I think we're killing it together. Ario Sonos, have you ever dealt with cockroaches from a dirty tenant? Never, ever, ever for 20 years until this freaking year. Oh my word. What a bummer. It was expensive. It was a 6-unit building. It was from one tenant. We knew exactly where they were coming from. And it was $2,800. And that was sprays everywhere, traps everywhere. That sucked. That sucked. Yeah. I felt bad for the other 5 tenants. I felt bad for them. I was like, we got to do it. We got to get into unit. We got to make sure we take care of it. Sorry, we just have to. And so I felt bad for them. They felt bad for me because I was spending a bunch of money, is what it is. And that one tenant brought them in. I know that one tenant brought them in because the heaviest concentration was in their unit. So yes, I have. Yeah, and it was expensive. Dan Hunter, a good deal in my market has gone from 7% in early 21 to 3% at the end of 2021. To 0% in March of 2022 due to home prices and interest rates going up and rents not quite keeping pace. I think I heard you said that on Mike Zuber's yesterday. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Similar yields for duplexes versus single family home. Do I need to switch markets to find a better yield, or do trends eventually bring yield back up? Trends will eventually bring yields back up. However, the thing to recognize though is that rising rates. So typically what you see is rising rates take about 6 months to start taking real effect in the market, to where it actually then becomes real pricing pressures. If it's a normal rate hike, right? Not if it's like, if they go 50 in April and 50 in May, it will be different. It will be different. That being said, you can absolutely put yourself in a position where you're on the other side of the 6 months, where then you'll start to see deals get better and better. There's nothing wrong with stacking cash in this point, because let's face it, if you're going to really learn another market, it's going to take you 90 days anyway. 90 to 120 days. Now, it's not the worst thing. Keep an eye on your market. If you got your market basically dialed in where you can look at it for 5 to 10 minutes a day and you're like, yep, no deals. Yep, no deals. Nothing wrong with learning another market. I've learned 6. I've learned 6. And that's why now I have a steady diet of deals. That's why now I have a steady diet of deals. Yep, that's exactly right. So yeah. Matt Herbert, have you ever had to upgrade a multifamily to a 400? No. 400 amp service? 400 for what? That's like almost 3-phase. Matt, let me know. I definitely want to hear. Never had to do it. Except it wouldn't surprise me if Eversource were asking for something like that. JC Blast, where can I get one of those bobbleheads? Great question. So this one is a prototype, so it's very expensive. This one's handmade, and then they would make a cast from this and then blah, blah, blah. So I have 2 more coming from different vendors. And once I have a decent vendor that can deliver them for a fair price, I'll make them available to you guys. My target is I want to be like 20, 30 bucks tops. This one was insanely priced, but it's because it's a prototype. Okay. So yeah, thanks, JC Blast. I appreciate it. And it's actually, this one's actually a taller one too. I think he's 8 inches tall. I'm pretty sure. I actually never measured, but I did buy the oversized one. But yeah, that's his full height. Oh man, are you guys having fun? I'm having a lot of fun today. This is a lot of fun, and new questions and new folks. Man, this is great. And everyone showed up. I mean, a lot of the regulars love that. Love that. This has been a real fun time. Don Etherton, be listed as additional insured on insurance policies from contractors. Yes, that is a great point. So basically, if you're listed on there as an additional insured, that means if they do for some reason set fire to your house or blow it up or whatever, you're already listed on there as the additionally insured. So you're going to get paid guaranteed. If you're not, it's going to be a longer fight for sure. Crimson Knight, that's why I'm remodeling. LOL. I bought 2 20 amp USB-C receptacles. I'm telling you, those USB-C receptacles, they're like, depending on where you buy them, they're 8 to 20 bucks, and they are a changer when it comes to. So I think Mike Zuber does his pride in rental, pride in ownership rental rehabs. I am very specific on interior design and the things that I want to add that are cool things that people always say, oh man, that's cool. Oh man, that's cool. Oh wow, that's awesome. You know, it's adding those little things, USBs. And I also add them where I kind of do a layout in my mind of the bedrooms. And I'm like, okay, USBs over there, and it's where their nightstands would be. You do that sort of stuff. And I'm telling you, people love it. Karen Miller, thank you so much. On the road and grateful to listen and learn. Awesome. Karen, I'm always happy to have you. You always ask great questions, so I appreciate that. Speaking of great questions, where is Jennifer Medina? I haven't seen her in a few weeks. Must have wrestling. Her son must have wrestling. Crimson Knight, speaking about that, you have 1 USB outlet, bedroom, right? Yep. Any advice on placement? Yeah. So put it on the biggest wall where they're likely to put their backs. I just covered this, like where to put their backboard and their nightstands. Because if that's where their nightstands are going, guess what? They already have a place to rest their phone. It's just a matter of plugging in, boom, on the nightstand. Yep. I'm telling you. And again, guys, we do this because guess what? Our college kids love it. They love it. They absolutely love that they can find stuff like that in our apartments. Theta Hedge Capital, curling, and Theta Hedge is on it. Nice job, Theta Hedge. Yep, nailed it. Curling is their national sport. Ken Dortelman. Ken, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here. Should I be concerned about a DSCR loan with a 5.5 to 6% fixed 30-year rate when that rate is locked in for 3 to 5 years before you can refinance? 6. No, I think rates are higher. Yeah, that's a horrible answer. Guys, that's a horrible answer, but I think rates are higher in 3 to 5 years. I think rates are higher in 3 to 5. Yeah. You know what I think at a 5.5? I think you're actually going to be happy. The only thing that would concern me would be what is that? So you can refinance, but you don't have to. I don't think it's that bad. I don't. I think you could be looking at those DSCR loans. I think they're going to have I said this year that rates would be in the 4s by June. Check. I think they're going to be in the 5s by the end of the year. I don't see how that doesn't happen. And I think that they're going to be in the 6s sometime in 2023. If your investor loans or DSCR loans, add a point to each. So yeah, you're about 4.25, 4.5 now. So yeah, 5.5. Yeah. And then yeah, next year 6, that means 7. That's when you're really going to start to see, the effect on pricing. That's when you're going to start to see the effect on pricing for sure. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So long as you don't have to refinance it, if that's 30-year debt, which I believe it should be, just let me know if I'm wrong. Oh yeah, 30-year rate. The rate is locked for 3 to 5 years before you can refinance, or you have to refinance. I just want to make sure I have the terms of your loan right. Anna K, I love hockey so much that I play in a league and will continue to play till I'm the oldest one in the league. Anna K, I knew I loved you. That's awesome. I played in the league until I hurt my ankle really, really badly. And I was going to have to do surgery. And I'm not a big surgery guy. And so I looked everywhere for a physical therapist that would at least even try to fix the problem. And she did. She is amazing. She fixed the problem and I didn't have to go through surgery. I haven't gotten back on skates yet, but she did fix the problem. So, okay, that's awesome. I love hockey too, but not the national sport of Canada. Curling is. Courtney McNeil. Hey, Courtney, I've never seen you on here before, so I'm super excited to have you. Welcome to the show. Courtney McNeil, I've had a short sale under contract for over 2 years. Jerneil, are you seeing this, my man? Wow. 2 years. If I keep it, would cash flow $300 per month, or I could sell it, but I could have to pay capital gains. What would you do? You don't have to pay capital gains. You could do a 1031 exchange. That's what I would be looking at. The fact that you've had it under for 2 years and that you haven't closed is, I would look at it and I would see what your return is on it. My guess, honestly, I might even 1031 it. I don't know all the numbers. You didn't share them all with me, but if I had bought a property 2 years ago and I bought it for $200,000, that property now is probably worth 260 or 270. But my rate is attached to now, not to then. So it might make you 300, but it could be eventually a loser, right? Depending on what rates are. However, you could 1031 sell it, take whatever money you have there, and then reinvest it in something else that actually gets you a better return. I think all things are on the table. One of the things I always talk about is you got to be able to pivot. I've bought stuff that I thought was going to be something I was going to have for 100 years. I had it for 120 days, the course of the project, and the numbers were so outrageously awesome. I was like, we're just going to get rid of this one and we're going to 1031 it. We're going to reposition that capital. So it really is a call that you have to make based on when you close, what your options are. However, yeah, because then you could be selling it. Yeah. Man, 2 years. That's amazing. Congratulations on sticking it out. Yeah, my longest, I think, was like 8 months. Whew, that was a long time. G Glover, great question, Courtney. G Glover, follow-up questions. Would you use the 40-year interest only for 10 years on rental properties if the property cash flows with a traditional 30-year? It's an awesome question, G Glover. G Glover laying it down. That's awesome. Probably not. I'd probably take the 30 because I want principal pay down for the same 10-year period. I don't want too much income on the property where I have to pay taxes on the income. And you'd be paying a higher rate for that for the 40 years. So it depends on, if you're at like a 5.5 on a 40-year where it's interest only, but you're 4 on something else because of some other deal that you got. It really depends. I would look at what the spreads are. But for me, I would probably do the 30-year fixed, not an interest only period. I'd probably do the 30. I'd probably do the 30. Yeah, I think I could probably be persuaded to do a 40 though. Yeah, I think that one's too close to call. So I think it would depend on the math and the deal. You know me, always do the math. It would really depend on the math and the deal. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome question. All right, listeners, did you get rid of that roach tenant? Yes. Oh yeah. Bye-bye. Yep. When their lease became renewable, I didn't let them renew. You bring pests into my house, I get pests out of my house. I'm counting. What's your take on installing solar panels? No. I've been very curious since I get all those advertisements on YouTube. And if you were to do it, an extra $250 a month if they don't have it. A lot of crazy deals right now is an electric bill. Yeah, no. So they've studied panels for like 20, 25 years, and they find that panels that have been put on were still 90% effective. So I like that. So there's not this big replacement thing. The massive cost, just the massive cost. Most people's electric bills are not $250 a month. So if you're paying $250 a month, that's a much higher rate on your tenant that they're paying, or you're paying it. And in looking to buy them outright, hell no. I got a proposal for $75,000 to put up panels on a property. $75,000. It was going to save $325 a month. Guess what? The payment for that $75,000 is. I can pay $75,000 up front. The problem is $75,000 up front. If you do the math, I'm basically signing up for a 5%. I'm basically a 5% return on my money because, right, I'm getting that money. The problem is what they don't tell you is that the solar panels don't do everything. There's low times, there's peak times, there's storage, there's all this other crazy stuff. So I've run the numbers a bunch of times. What I've seen for solar so far is 17. This was with tax rebates. I've seen a 17 to a 21-year return on capital investment. No. Nope. Now, when they become super cheap, sure. When there's a drag on the economy and a bunch of those guys are out of work because unemployment's 10%, maybe. Those are all things I've done the math on where I can reposition based on what happens in the economy. I do a lot of work on things to understand all the numbers so I can then say, okay, is now a good time to do this? Is now a good time to do that? I don't always do it just because I've done the research or say no forever. I'm just looking for the right time to do that thing. Yeah, the $250 is an electric bill. Yep. Okay. John Williams, it's been a fun listen for sure. Thanks, John Williams. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun today. You guys' questions were just killer. So good luck with keep on with the awesome questions. Hit the like button, everyone. Or Janelle Diaz, hit the like, everyone. This wisdom is always gold. Thanks so much, Matt. Janelle, you're always welcome, my friend. Appreciate you guys. Crimson Knight, they are $20 for the 20 amp ones for the kitchen, 15 for the 15 amp ones. Yep, Alibaba is no longer cheap due to everything going on in China. Yeah, no kidding. Ain't that the truth? I still have stock of probably, I don't know, 100 of them. So I'm working through that stock right now. I'm not buying any right now. I'll buy them when I need to. Matt Herbert doing a full gut rehab on a duplex. Load calc came out to 363 amps. Oh, it's the mini splits. Electric dryer. Microwave plus normal branch circuits. Wow. All right. I'm going to read all this because this is really important, guys. Matt Herbert doing a full gut rehab on duplex. Load calculations. That means what Eversource comes out and says, the power company, they come out and say, this is how many amps you actually need. Eversource requires a 400 amp service entrance once it's over 360 amps. Yep. I understand. Yep. Each unit has its own mini split. There's a reason not to do mini splits because a 400 amp service is going to be a fortune. Is it two 200s? Is that what it is, Matt? Is it two 200 panels? Electric water. Yep. Sure. Electric range. Yep. Sure. Electric dryer, microwave plus normal branch circuits. I mean, I would look at the cost of that, Matt. And then I would also look at the cost of what it would be to, if you have natural gas access, changing over some of those appliances to natural gas, number one. Because you change over like the dryer, perfect example. If you do the dryer and the electric hot water heater, that's going to drastically drop your amperage. Because I think off your dryer, you're 50 and your electric hot water heater, I think you're 40 or maybe the other way around. So that's 90 right there. And that's 90 aside. Just an idea. Maybe it helps you. Maybe it doesn't, but just for what it's worth. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Before reaching financial independence, what concerned you the most now that you're financially independent? What concerns you the most? Fear is too strong a word, so I chose concern. I think there's still always the concern you run out of money. You know, that's always the concern, is that you run out of money. And so I think it's margin. So I think that, so the margins would concern me the most. What I look at now is I spend a ton. I spend probably $500,000 or $600,000 a year on contractors, $500,000 to $600,000 a year on contractors right now. That's because we have a bunch of massive improvements in place, getting to that next higher rent, next tenant, right? But once I'm done, once I finish those, I'm done. And that means that house is now good for 20 years because at that point, I've done everything in that house. So I've done roofs, I've done heating systems, I've done electrical, I've done whatever, plumbing, changed to PEX. Like I've done a bunch of stuff. I can check the box on that house. Everything's done there. So I can ratchet that $500,000 or $600,000 back to 200 grand as maintenance stuff, right? Let's just say it's 200. That means I got 300 or 400. Well, a few years ago, that wasn't nearly as big. And so there was a lot less margin for error. Now it's just a matter of, I can shut down the number of projects that I'm doing rehab, not construction, but rehab. Just, I can shut down that number and then just live on the lower rent if we run into a problem. And then the other thing is margin. Dion and I talk about this a lot, which is, if 50% of our tenants, stopped paying rent, we would still be able to make it. Now there would be a whole bunch of evictions and getting rid of people and then getting new tenants in and all that other stuff. But if something catastrophic happened and we, went a few months where something like that happened in the process of getting them evicted, we'd still be fine. And so I think hopefully that helps. That's what I kind of look at. So those were my concerns. Those are obviously, I think every landlord had that concern in the beginning of COVID. I called all my banks. I won't lie. I called all my banks and I just said, hey, talk to me about what my options are for for forbearance if my tenants stop paying, because I went through it last time in 08, where literally it went from 8 in August to 3 in September to 1 in October. I couldn't make my nut off of one. My monthly nut was $16,000 and my monthly income was $6,000 or $5,000. And that was from my job. Couldn't make my nut that way. So yeah, so we talk about that a lot. It would just be, trying to work out with them, saying, listen, don't get too far behind. You have to pay at least this much. Yeah, you have to pay at least, don't get too far behind, pay at least this much. And so it would just be a lot of workout stuff. But I called all my banks, and 2 of my banks said, nope, we're not doing anything. 2 of my banks said, yeah, we're doing something. And so with one of them, just because we were just entering COVID and they told everyone they didn't have to pay their mortgages or didn't have to pay their rent. With one bank, I did it. And then they asked me after, I think it was 30 days or 60 days, they said, do you want to renew? And I was like, nope, absolutely not. We're good. And then because I had collected rent from those, I just paid them back, or I just paid the forbearance. So I had a couple that went in forbearance and I pulled them out pretty quickly. Yeah. Tom Kine, 2.375 spoiled me. Yeah, no kidding, Tom. Holy Toledo. You'll never refi out of that. But that's not a bad thing. That's 30-year fixed rate debt, man. Woo, 2.375. Here's the good news. You ever need to sell that place? Sub 2. There will be investors lined up to buy that thing with a 2.375. Tamika L in the house. Hey, Tamika, good morning. Costs associated with infestation caused by the particular tenant. Did you levy fees to the tenant for abatement? I didn't. You will likely lose if you go to court on that, because you won't be able to prove it was them. Because they weren't living in squalor. It looked rather clean. I think the issue for them was it could have been cleaner. So yeah, that was one of those things where I think I could have fought it and tried to get them to pay, but they couldn't afford that. That 2,800 would have sent them into that would have crushed them. To get a judgment against them. Nah, that was one of those ones where it was just, I just had to buck up and just take it, way it goes. So that one I swallowed that bitter pill. Good question. Good question. Janelle at G Glover, great question. It was, yeah, G Glover nailed it with that one. Matt, yes, I did see Courtney's question. So it looks like if one's willing to wait through the hassle of short sale, usually ends up worth it. True. The only thing you want to be aware of is if it's keeping you from doing any other deal, don't risk it. In my eyes, if it's keeping you from, doing a third or fourth deal or second deal along with another deal that you're still able to do, then in that case, in my shoes, I did it. I've done it both. I did one where that was the only deal I was in on, and it hurt because I saw other deals I was missing. I did it another time where I was able to do that deal. I got that deal done, but I also got another deal done basically at the same time. So I was able to really crush it there. So that worked. Yeah, that worked really, really, really well. Yep. KLRB Properties. Hey, really cool. Thanks for being here. 30-year fixed, 27.5-year depreciation. Yes, that is true. I'm not sure what this is an answer to, but that is accurate. Han Solo, in an event of deflation, what adjustment would you make to the overall approach? So that's a really awesome question, Han Solo. That's a really good question. I think that if Dion wins our bet and deflation happens, I will probably be the happiest lumberjack in the world. It will destroy people. It will destroy people. I will likely work with my tenants to keep them there, do everything I can to adjust the rent, have real conversations with them like I did during COVID. I sent out a letter in February to all of my tenants about COVID back 2 years ago. So we were on the same page. One, I care about them. I want to make sure they're okay. Two, We certainly want to maintain the residents, but if there is a problem, if it's an emergency, we'll take care of it. If we have to be in your unit and we have to send somebody in your unit, please be mindful of that and recognize that unless it's an emergency, we really don't want to have to do that. And then 3 is, if you basically, I listed everything out. If you're able to pay, if you have savings, if you have this, if you have assistance, any of these things, you need to continue to pay. If you, for some reason, don't have any of these things, you've lost your job, don't have assistance, don't have benefits, you're waiting for unemployment. If you have any of these things, I listed them all out. I listed like 10 of them out. Please contact us and we'll work something out with you. Please contact us. I had 2 people contact us. One of them really needed help. One of them was a total a-hole and was just like, yeah, well, I lost my job. I was like, you work fast food, right? Yeah. There's still other fast food places hiring. I'm not forgiving your rent. You need to go get another job. So yeah. And her portion of that rent was like $450. If you can't come up with $450 in a month, come on. That's not on me. That's on you. So what I would take is, that's why I created all the cash I did. I believe there's a correction coming. If you read the Business Insider article, which I would encourage you to do, honestly, guys, I'm not getting paid for this promotion, so take it for what it's worth. But truth and honesty, I read Business Insider. It's got a ton of really good articles about landlords and what other investors are doing. I think it's the best few bucks a month you can spend. I would spend it and I would read it because there's a ton. I mean, I've been in there multiple times. Zuber's been in there. There's a ton of other guys and investors. And I don't say guys, men, I'm saying guys, people. There's a ton of other investors that have been in there, that there is always a little something you can learn. It's a few bucks a month. So I would encourage you, go to Business Insider, check out the newest article on me, which was about my 7-figure refi, but they have a lot of other stuff. Again, not paid promotion, but that is one of the things I actually paid for. That's one of the subscriptions I actually pay for. So my overall approach is basically like what it said in that article, Han Solo, which was I refied a ton of properties. I've refied 23 in the last 18 months, and did a cash out refi on them all, and now have a second stack of 7 figures of dry powder that I am waiting to deploy to the market when the amazing deals start popping. If deflation happens, I'll buy 30 properties. If non-deflation happens, it might be 10. Do you hear my kids in the background? It's nap time. It's nap time. But I'm in here for another hour. Courtney McNeil, I'm under contract for $350K. It is an absolute mess. Okay. Needs about $100K to fix for rental. Okay. Or $125 for resale. Okay. I might be able to flip it quick to a flipper and make $75 to $100K. See, the thing is, though, is that you might not need to flip it to a flipper for $75 to $100K quick. If it's $125 to get ready, what's the extra $25K get you if you put on market and sell it? Because then it's a brand spanking new unit. So I love the thought process that you have there, that you've already looked at some exits. Guys, Courtney's doing it 100% right. Be looking at the walls for the exits. You got to be always keeping your eyes on the exits. How am I going to get out of this deal? Very, very important. Even in a good market, always be looking at the exits of how you want to get out of the deal. Here's the thing. Always try to create more exits and investigate as many exits as possible. I wouldn't be looking, me personally, if the market still, let's say you close this month. Let's say you get that $125,000 worth of deals done in the next 2 months, and they've only done another 25-point base raise on the Fed funds rate, and mortgage rates haven't really continued to skyrocket. Depending on the market, I look at that and I go, you know what? I think I just need to put this out for retail. That's what you might want to do, is just then put it out for retail. Because then in that case, you're not making 75 to 100. You're making way more than that. So that's all the risk that you have to assess. But I love your thinking, because you're looking at all the different exit possibilities. That's what makes a great real estate investor. So good for you, Courtney. Very well done. REI Stoners, can I put a clause in my lease saying if you bring pests, I can kick you out before the lease is up? I don't, let me think. I think talk to your attorney. Talk to your attorney that did your lease. I would talk to your attorney that did your lease. I have an attorney that did my lease. That would be a call I would make to them. Anytime I have a structural change in my lease or a term change in my lease, I give my attorney a quick call. Yep, I give him a quick call. One of the things I would encourage you to do, oh, here's a golden star tip right here. If you guys don't do this, if you guys have an opportunity, meetups, landlord groups, all that stuff. I'm in a landlord group that I actually get a blow-by-blow legislative update of everything going on in the state and everything that's going to be voted on. Guess what? Because of that, all of us landlords, and these are not things that hurt tenants. Landlords are pro-tenant. That is a major misunderstanding. If your landlord's not pro-tenant, find a different landlord. There's just as many garbage tenants as there are garbage landlords. So that's the thing. Landlord, none of them are exclusive. None of them are only one way. So here's what I would tell you. That legislative update is awesome because we see what the state's concerns are. A bunch of landlords voted for some measures on affordable housing, but it was helping Section 8 raise the bar to meet market rents. I would like to take, believe it or not, more Section 8 tenants. But I can't because I'm literally giving them $250 a month because the rate is so low. I want to help the problem. I've helped it a little bit. I've given them some units, but I don't want to be in a position where I'm having to, because if you do it on 10 units, now it's $2,500 a month I'm giving away and $30,000 a year I'm giving away. I can't afford to give that away. Nope. Not what my cost of business is, not based on what my margins are. So I recommend that first. The second thing that I recommend that is just as important is you need to have an attorney. I have an attorney. He's not just an attorney and he's not just a landlord attorney. Guess what he is? He's a tenant or he's a landlord as well as being a landlord attorney. So what do I know a landlord attorney has? He has his own lease that he wrote. That's perfect. It's perfect. So what did I do? I said, hey, you can defend me in court far better if I have a lease that's written by you, an attorney that's also a landlord, because I don't want all the fluffy, stupid stuff in there that's like giving me the opportunity to hit the tenant in the head. I'm not trying to do that. I want something that's very, very livable. It's a livable document. That way we can work back and forth with the tenant. We're not like, everything has to be like hammer in the head, hammer. Oh, forget that. My tenants stay with me for a long time. We work together on solving problems. I'm not mad every time they call me with something broken, unless it's like, dude, you've broken this 3 times. Like stop getting so obliterated on Saturday nights that you're breaking the back of the toilet. I had one person that did that 3 times in like an 8-month period. I was like, I paid for the first one. You're paying for the second and the third. Because now I know you're just not taking care of it. That thing is fine. You're just getting way too aggressive. So yeah, it was that on them. So yeah, I think I would recommend finding an attorney that is also a landlord that has their lease and then convincing them to give it to you. Because if I'm going into court, I want you to be able to defend me and your lease is completely defendable. That's what I did. Gold tip of the day for what it's worth. So I would ask an attorney on that REI centers. Courtney McNeil, the after repair value is $600 to $750 depending on the finishes. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's what I would probably do. KLRB Properties, first time to your channel, Lumberjack. Keep up the good work. We'll be watching. KLRB, appreciate that. KLRB, let me know what kind of properties you're doing. I'd love to know. I just like to know what the folks that watch my channel, what they're doing. Yes, each unit has its own 200 amp panel. Yep, sounds good. Yeah. 4 amp service is not a big deal. Very common. They are only a couple $100 more. If you're not in New Hampshire, it can be a little bit different in New Hampshire. We just have some weird rules. We just have some weird rules. Like I've seen little adjustments like that cost me, like the electric company wants me to pick up the bill for $1,500 when it's something that might, something really that's like really, but yeah, totally agree with you. It might just, if it's normal cases, it might just be a couple $100, not a big deal. Nate Jones, what's your target minimum cash on cash return? Better than average and great. So there's average, there's better than average, and there's great. Some markets it's 10, 12, 14. Other markets it's 12, 14, 16. It's really sliding scale. So for me, the last 7 deals that I've done are all 20% returns or greater. The highest was 43. That was a honey of a deal. But yeah, 20 plus now. I'm only doing great deals right now. So I've passed on 3 deals in the last week and a half. They were not 20 plus. They were still decent. They were okay. They were above average, almost good, but above average. So yeah, my cash on cash return needs to be north of 20% if I'm going to touch a deal now. Great question. Chris Webb. Hey, Chris Webb. Good afternoon from Central Virginia. Good to have you here, Chris. Appreciate the feedback on the videos too, my man. I'm a little bit behind on answering stuff, but I will, I promise. But yeah, appreciate your feedback. Honestly, I've listened to the entire show and I must say I admire the integrity. Honestly, I really appreciate that. That's one thing we definitely try and set ourselves apart with. Sadly, some landlords make that really easy. Thumbs up for your channel. Honestly, I really appreciate that. Thank you. I thank you for attending and taking some time and investing in us. And hopefully you feel like we made an investment in you. DSG label. You can put any clause in a lease. Question is, yeah, how do you prove it in court with 100% certainty? Yep, exactly. Yeah. And that's the way kind of I answer questions is, so people like smart, people don't like clever. They like smart, they don't like clever. So I like to answer the question in a smart way, not a clever way. Because yeah, technically you're right. You can put anything in a lease. That's more clever. Like, what's the actual chance you have of actually winning in court with that? So to me, if I have basically no chance of winning in court with it, I don't waste my time putting it in there. Because when the judge sees, yeah, the lease is reasonable, the terms are reasonable, you're not like playing the gotcha game. Guess what? He's more likely to rule in my favor because he sees that I'm not playing the gotcha game. So that's my take on it. Legacy op. Good morning, Lumberjack. Hey, I finally did my cash out refi on my way to my 3rd single family rental in a while years. Nice job, Legacy. Nice job. Well done. Well done. I love it. I love it. Now, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush. You've only got that much dry capital. Don't be in a rush. Get yours. Get yours. Get yours. Get a good deal. DSG label, roaches are easy. Bed bugs are the real scary one. What's interesting is bed bugs are easier for us. Yeah. Yep. I have gotten bed bugs twice in our buildings, or it was the same building twice. Super easy both times. We do the heat treat option. Wicked easy. Wicked easy. You get in there, and I think you get the apartment, I think it's to 120 or 140 degrees. It's either 120 or 140 degrees. You get the apartment up that warm. It kills them. It kills their babies. It kills their larvae. It kills all of that stuff. We never had another issue with that. Ironically, we did that in a building, killed everything, nothing for years. Then we got another tenant in. We found out that they basically made their apartment like a flop area where people are just bringing in mattresses. And this was the reason I sold the property. It was too far away. I couldn't manage it properly. Like I like to manage more hands-on. They got bed bugs back. We did the same heat treat, got them out, did the same huge heat treat, and never an issue again until I sold the building. So, and that was, like I said, years apart. So I think bed bugs, honestly, for me, were just a whole lot easier. I was much happier to work with them than with cockroaches. Yeah, that was my take. Rob, it's nap time. Mine. Good for you, man. Rob, you go get that nap, buddy. You go get that nap. Crimson Knight, nothing bad is going to happen to landlords with our current state legislator. Washington's a different story. Don't disagree. Yep. Don't disagree. Don't disagree. I think what's really awesome is that I still have, and you guys in New Hampshire, you guys can react to this. I still have apartments that I rent out, 1 bedrooms, for $750 a month. Tell them, say in the notes how cheap that is, because I want everyone to know exactly how cheap that is, but have third-party validation. Steve Dave, I wanted to share delayed financing appraisal for ARV came back at 260 for my rental. I paid 140 cash for and put 45 into the property. Love it. 185 off of 265. Very happy and should be maintenance free for a decade. Steve Dave, that is awesome news. Congratulations. I love that. I love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. DSG label, landlord hate is at an all-time high. Yep, it is. It really is. It is. I mean, I'm not going to, I treat people with respect. I expect the same thing back. If they want to live in one of my properties and pay me rent, I'm more than happy to have them, but here are the rules that we both have to live by, and I'll take care of it. I just bought a property that hadn't seen a maintenance guy or the landlord in 3 years. The place looked like it. And so in the first week we own the property, we've spent $17,000 in a week. But it was all stuff I had ready to go that I wanted to do there. And the tenants are, 4 tenants are grateful and 2 still have attitude problems. And so they're going to get an attitude adjustment, or probably just a rent adjustment. Because they're just being, and there's no reason for them being difficult. I told him, I said, I just spent $17,000 on the property. I would think the only thing that you'd be saying is, hey, thanks so much for taking care of that for us. It was great to see the property being worked on. That's not how they felt. They were peeved because one of the contractors plugged into one of their outlets, or because they missed picking up a few shingles from the new roof that we put on. And they actually complained. If I had seen 2 shingles that a roofing company left behind, I would have just grabbed them and tossed them in the trash. Look at the beautiful new roof I got that doesn't leak anymore. And they're going to repair the leak in my unit. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Drew A, watching my market, seeing 5 to 10K price drops now. Okay. Our Killeen, Texas. Okay. About an hour and a half from Austin. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of development that's been happening out there for years now. I think they're one of the ones that are going to start to see it, because I think that there's a massive demand, but there's also a good amount of inventory. Like, it just is falling. It's coming off the shelves really quickly. These people are more panicking, trying to get ahead of it to make sure they're not the ones that end up holding it. So I would expect you'd see some cracks in kind of that market, Boise. And I'm not saying massive price drops or corrections. I think they're that 5 to 10K off is probably still off of a record high, Drew. And you can let me know. Yeah, but it is exciting seeing things start to move in your market. Chris Webb, I saw your lake house. Did you drop plans for the home yet? It's done. So it's done. That's the old set of pictures. It's done now. Yeah, it's all done. Thanks for asking. Yeah, all done. G Glover, thanks a lot answering my questions. You're the man. G Glover, happy to do it, my friend. I appreciate you spending the time with us. Andrew Rosenberg, is HUD's 223F loan worth all the catches? I don't know. I don't know what that loan is. I'll answer a bunch of other questions and let me see if I can find it. Or better yet, why don't you put the details down below? I can try and answer. Yeah, put the details down below. I'll also try and look it up. I'll maybe even bring it up with Mike on Tuesday. We'll talk about it. KLRB Properties, Lumberjack. I am into single family homes. Very cool. Trying to expand this year into multifamily. Very nice. Doing my first development property this year that just got approved for 48 single family lots. Dude, good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Are you going to do you want to develop and actually build all the homes, or do you want to actually then sell off the lots and get like builder tie-in, or do you want to just flip the project because now it's done? Anna K, how about mice? Do you have any time-tested method best with Terminator services. Anna K, my best method with them is, and listen, this is the best method, do it or don't, but this is the best method. Traps with peanut butter. That's your best method. Traps with peanut butter. And then they make mouse food. And I take the peanut butter, put a little bit of peanut butter on there, then I sprinkle a little bit of mouse food on there. And those work extremely well. I crush with those. I'll send you guys a picture of a device that I built, or I had built. Oh, 203K. The 203K came streamlines. 203K. So yeah, if it's the 203K, yeah, I can take you through those. Yep. I was like 223. I was like, there's a new 223? What? Sorry. Yeah, dude. So Carol RB, awesome. Congratulations. Let me know the answer below. I'd love to know if you're going to develop, sell off, do builder tie-in. And if you're the builder, what are your thoughts on commodity pricing and how you're doing that? So Anna K on the mice, the wooden traps, the Victor wooden traps, don't use any of the fake garbage electric traps. They're all junk. I've tried using all of them. Do you know how many times I've ever caught a mouse? Zero times. So, and I know how to read instructions. So it's definitely a product problem the way it goes. Now, that being said, like I said, what I would do is with the mice, Victor traps, peanut butter, and one that has a lot of like the peanut butter oil on it, they will get up there. You will get them for sure. Awesome. If this is helping you guys, please hit that like button. Let me know. I am happy to answer your questions. There's no bad question. I always explain there's a continuum. There's here, newbie, knows nothing at all, can barely spell house, and that's okay. Then there's all the way over here, which is you're an elite investor and something, you might learn something from me once a live stream. So we cover the entire spectrum. And so I'm happy to help answer questions for you guys. Nate Jones, is that 20% return after accounting for? Yes. Yep. See, so Nate, those numbers that you put in there, CapEx, repair, vacancy, management, I just do those differently. But yes, largely speaking. So CapEx, a lot of times when I'm buying a property, I'm already figuring something called make ready costs. And when I spend that money and I do that, that's going to take anything off the plate for the next X amount of time. But I do have my $50,000 emergency fund that I can pull from if something else comes up. General maintenance is usually a pretty small number, just because I know what I actually, because of my broadcast of properties or far reaching number of properties, like I know what plowing costs there, but I get a reduced rate because he's plowing 40 other driveways. Does that make sense? And then as far as vacancy, I don't have them. I don't have vacant units ever. I'm always going from one tenant to the next. So I never have vacancy. My bank puts that in there. They put a CapEx number in there, a repair number in there, and a vacancy number in there, and a management number in there. They put all of those numbers in there when they're figuring out the loan. And then I show them my spreadsheet at the end of the year and say, C, no management because I self-manage. C, no vacancy because I don't have those. C, repair, I had it in my make ready cost when I bought the place, and CapEx as well. But there's, it might be $10,000 or something like that. And then there's usually some other maintenance stuff that over the course of the year, things like I said, lawns, snow plowing and salting and sanding. There's those types of things. But those numbers are pretty low, per property, that might be a few $100. So usually for me, what I find is that $50,000 emergency fund is more than enough. But usually if I just keep, so I don't actually have to CapEx it out and separate it. It shows up at the end of the year. This is how much we spent on X property, but we always now can handle anything out of cash flow. So from a working a deal perspective, yes, the bank puts all those things in there. They figure for a 5% vacancy, they figure I think it's a 5%. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you exactly what it is. Let's see. Okay. Yep. So they figure for 5% repairs, 5% management fee, 3% reserve for replacement, and a 2% admin fee. That's all the stuff that they work into a deal. The admin fees free because I do all the work. Reserve for replacement, I mean, I guess, but repairs and maintenance is 5%. Like in this particular deal, gross rental income was 72,000. Oh, and less vacancy, 5%. Like I don't have vacancies. Like once I buy a property, I rehab the unit, get the unit done, and then the unit's done. And then after that, it's tenant to tenant to tenant. And I've done that consistently across 100 units, very consistently. So yeah, that's the stuff that they figure in this one. So if you look at all the fees that they take out, they basically figure out, I mean, they just like bleed me dry on this stuff. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, most of those fees aren't even in there. Like I'm not going to spend $3,500 on this building this year. I had $10,000 make ready cost up front. So that's why. So what they look for too is a debt coverage ratio, 1.2. Most of my buildings are in the twos. They're way up there. They're crazy high. A bad building for me is 1.5 or 1.6. So yeah, we just continue to manage our properties. I don't have a property manager that I have to pay 10% or 8% or 6% to. I have a couple of subs that I use all the time for a bunch of different stuff. But if you add up what they cost me and you took that 5% maintenance across my entire portfolio, they're more like 1.5 or 2%. So it's much less expensive. So yeah, my margins are killer. Hopefully that answers the question. That gave you enough detail. But great question, Nate. Great question. But yeah, that 20% return is after accounting for those things. Yep. Crimson Knight, 921, $750. Where can I sign up? Market in Dover is, yeah, exactly. Okay, so cool. So thanks for the feedback, guys. So 700. So this is back to the question of rents and what I do as a landlord. $750. They believe in Dover it's 14 to 1600, not 100% sure for a 1-bedroom. $700 for a month in a single bedroom is dirt cheap. In my area, a single bed goes for 1,000. So in our area, they're depending on the quality, they can be as little as about $1,200, 11 to $1,200, or as high as a couple thousand, like 22, 2,300 in some of the brand new stuff downtown. Now, I rent out for $750 because that was an inherited tenant. They are very nice people and they care about the place. And so it's not always about the money for this landlord. I want nice people that will work with me, that I can work with them, that they recognize it's a house, stuff is going to break. I know it's a house. I know stuff is going to break and I'm going to take care of it. When it breaks, we're going to fix it for you. And so in all cases, when I have older tenants that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, I do everything I can to keep their rent what it is because they're on fixed incomes. So I push really hard to keep everything where it is and we'll make money off the market of the rest of the building. That's something that I think not enough landlords do. And so with a heavy heart, I give them rent increases, but they're never every year. And, it's always still well below market for what it's worth. Andrew Rosenberg, thanks, nobody. Yeah. So in the 203K, yeah, because you asked the 203K question, right, Andrew? I just want to make sure I got that right. You want to miss it? Yeah. Okay. So on the 203, so on the 203K loans, there's two kinds. There's a 203K full doc, and there's a 203K streamline. The 203K Streamline is limited to $35,000. I love that loan. I think that's an amazing loan. That gets you one inspection at the end to then get you your last 17.5 back of the program. So I love, you can just provide receipts to get the first 17.5, but the last 17.5 is only upon inspection. The next 203K loan is basically a full doc loan. Don't love those. I'd probably rather go to a bank with a construction loan. Right now, you have a lot of contractors that won't fill out all the paperwork that you're going to need to do a 203K. That's the only thing that I would caution you. But me personally, I don't know of any other stipulations with those loans other than how they pay the money out. So other than that, I'm good. I don't know what they've changed. I've used those in the past, but it's been about 10 years because I don't qualify for them anymore. Awesome. KLRB gave us a bunch of detail. Love that. Crimson Knight. Oh yeah, mice. 2 houses are being built on my street. Anything other than traps to mouse professionally in the case of builders ruin their homes. Yeah, like the other stuff, like the poisons and things like that. There's some really good poisons out there. The problem is when you get those, guess what happens? They go inside. They either nest in their burrow in their holes outside, or they die in your house and then they stink. And you never get rid of the smell unless you find their bodies that are off gassing. Don't believe people that tell you they off gas for 5 days. It's more than that. Chris Webb. I ask realtors I know about buyers canceling and they say not in their markets yet, Nashville and Frisco, Texas. Yep, those markets are still pretty warm. Both have good jobs in the area. Yeah, same exact thing for me. There are zero. I posted 3 multifamily deals went on, 3 multifamilies went on in my market on Friday or Thursday, basically prepping for the weekend. None of them made it to an open house. All 3 of them, all off market, all over ask, all 3 of them by Saturday morning. Not seeing it here. So it will happen. We're just not there yet. It's going to take some time. We're just not there yet. Okay, good. All right, back to the fun. Yeah, so no slowdown. I agree with you. Crimson Knight also heard wear gloves, so no scent on the peanut butter. Yep. Yeah, just the rubber neoprene ones. That's a good idea. Yep, do that. Nate Jones, just curious. My wife and I are looking at 2 duplexes that pencil out to about 8 to 10 based on financing. Yep. That's allocating 25% of rents to expenses, not including trash, snow, and lawn. Great answer. Thank you. You're welcome, Nate Jones. You are welcome. Yeah, it really varies because again, like I hire like a 20-year-old and I say, you work 1 day a week, you mow all the lawns. And because a bunch of mine are city properties where they have like small like lawns, right? And they can get them done in about a 9-hour day. I pay him $250. He's thrilled. He's not making 25 or he's not making $27 an hour anywhere. I'm thrilled because I'm not paying some landscaping company $40 a lawn to mow a strip that's three blade, that's 3 mowers wide. So it's a great move for both of us. All right. So yeah. Yep. Let me know if that helps out, Nate Jones, if you want more detail. I'm happy to go through it with you, my friend. But congratulations on 2 duplexes. I love duplexes. I am the king of duplexes, if I don't mind, assigning that moniker to myself. I have 20 something duplexes. I love them. I actually have to do a recount because we just did a bunch. We just bought a bunch of them. I think we just bought 3 more. Steve Dave, the lake house we purchased needs about 85,000 worth of work to it. We paid 258 in cash. My realtor thinks I can sell it as is for 370. Tempting, but the numbers show 60K a year before taxes as Airbnb. I'll read your next one down too, Steve Dave. Tough to forego an easy payout, but how often will I find the cash return in today's market? What are your thoughts? So for me, I'm not an Airbnb guy at all. I hate Airbnb because of the amount of touching, too much touching, experience, ratings, how they like, just too much touching. I want to be a part of people's everyday, not a part of the special 3 days that they plan that they have to have a great experience on. So for me, I don't like the Airbnb model. I have a property that I'm selling that's the perfect Airbnb. Somebody will make a ton of money off of that property on Airbnb. Just ain't going to be me. So for me, I like long-term steady. I think that, lake houses certainly are always going to be a thing. That's what I have that I'm going to be selling, that I'm not going to be Airbnb-ing. But yeah, so for me, it's much more about slow and steady wins the race. Cities are after Airbnbs, towns are after Airbnbs. They want to put in rules. How's your neighbor going to respond? What are the complaints going to be like? Oishka, ushka, ushka. And it's going to be during the summer when you're trying to enjoy yourself, right? So for me, just Airbnb doesn't fit my feel. It's not what I got in the business to do. And so for me, it's a pass. That's why I'm literally selling the one property that is the most aligned with being an Airbnb is that one. That's the one that's most aligned with being an Airbnb. But that's the one that I'm selling. So not the answer you were looking for, I'm sure, or better guidance. But yeah, for me, I mean, again, now that you know my bias against Airbnbs, I would take the money. If you're not going to use it, I would, and make it, a primary residence where you figure something out with then renting it out. Then yeah, I would probably grip it and rip it, get out of it, take my big cash and 1031 it into another property that's going to get me more consistent returns. That's probably what I would do. I just saw Chris Webb. Someday your property will make a ton on Airbnb, but not today. I know I've already given Dion like 3 not todays. Yeah, just Airbnb is not for me. Not for me. Even if I had somebody else managing it like the whole 9, it's just I would feel I care too much about those people's experiences like that. I care about my tenants and what they're living with, that I'll get somebody out to repair things, and we're constantly repairing and doing stuff in properties. For me, I would just feel absolutely awful if they had even if it wasn't my fault, if they had a bad experience over a 3-day and just, oh, nope, can't do it, not built for it up here. So yeah, maybe for you, but wouldn't be the worst. KLRB, part owner of a local building supply. Oh, good for you. So the lots will be offered to our spec builders first. Yep, I do build to rent also. Nice. I also do have HVAC and electrical. Very good. Got help with my vision from multifamily builder. Cool. Who is that Ron Cleef, or is that somebody else? Let me know if I made a mistake. Crimson Knight. I wish I could do that if one of my tenants, nice old lady on Social Security, but I only own 2. Yeah, so you really can't. Absolutely. $800 with oil, heat, interluded. I just can't. Yeah, dude, I get it. Crimson Knight. I got a heat bill for $700 for a duplex. And I'm like, guys. So now I'm actually going to change the thermostats in there because I walked in there and both of them were at 78 degrees. That's not nice. That's not nice. We're not working together if you're putting things at 78 degrees. You need to layer up. So now I'm putting in 71-degree thermostats. That's the only way to handle that because they won't listen. And I'm not paying $700 a month for heat for them. That's not what we agreed to. It's not what I signed up for. KLRBs, get educated from ones in the game. They love to help. Cool. Very awesome. Rob, asbestos mitigation on my duplex has begun. There goes the budget. Sorry to hear that, Rob. I know that sucks. We have asbestos. We've done asbestos mitigation on a couple of projects. One of it was like, so we had one of those old kettle furnaces and it was covered in asbestos. And just to clean off that, because they have to basically soak it and heat it and all this other stuff, it was like $7,000. $7,000. Yeah. Holy Toledo. Woo. Crazy. And if you guys are planning on leaving, please just make sure you hit the like button on the way out the door. I see we're losing some viewers, but that's okay because we only got about 20 minutes left. So I'll continue to ask questions as they come in. Han Solo, another one for you. Do you see any advantages, disadvantages of owning adjacent to single family homes on the same street? Nope. I do it with my duplexes all the time. I like it. It makes it really easy for maintenance, for if I wanted to do an improvement, I am my abutter. But I have one street that I own 3 properties on. I have another street that I own 2 on. I have another street that I own 3 on. Yeah. So I have a lot of those 2 and 3 that are alone on the same street. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Totally get it. Yep. Yeah. So I like it. The only thing you ever have to think about is, you know, if they ever had to do some like city assessment or something like that, you know, for some reason, usually wouldn't affect you, but it could be something where they're like, yeah, we have to dig up all of the drainage pipe and the whole thing. And then you've got 2 tenants at the same time going through the same thing. Sometimes, you know, even though it's not my fault, sometimes if I know it's going to be elongated, I'll do some sort of a credit for them. But that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Yeah, Matt Herbert. Matt, high value episode. Appreciate that, Matt Herbert. Got to run. Have a great remainder of your weekend. You too, Matt. Say hi to your wife for me too. Angela K. Wallace, what property management software do you use? Great question, Angela. I use DoorLoop. DoorLoop is really meant for bigger landlords, though. We struggled with a bunch of the smaller ones, and now we're on DoorLoop, and it's because it has all of the functionality and then some, but you start at I think it's $200 a month or $250. Now you don't start seeing price increases until you hit 200 units. Now we only have 115 units, but we plan on getting there probably someday. The biggest thing for us is making sure that as we're doing it, that we don't have to hopefully ever change out of a system again, because that system, going from one system to another, was more than a little bit of a nightmare. And of course, because we're crazy, we decided to change accountants the same year too, that we put that system in, which was this year. So far, I love the product. They've done a great job on it. It's very functional. And we've only started using the very like tip of the iceberg in there. But yeah, Ashley, who does basically all that work, has really enjoyed it. Yeah, it says it's really good. Steve Dave, appreciate that. We figure it will stay about 70% occupancy, but we'll save a few weeks for ourselves, of course. So decisions to make. Thanks. Yeah. So that's how I'm going to get an oceanfront property. I want an oceanfront property. I've wanted one since I was a kid. I grew up in an ocean town, not on the ocean. But I grew up in an ocean town, and the nightmare of parking and dragging stuff to and from the car and all that other stuff. While it was fun to do it as a kid, I don't want to do it as an adult with 3 young kids. So we definitely want to do an oceanfront property. The only way that we'd be able to do an oceanfront property as a second residence is if we did that exactly, which is we found, we thought of a way to try and do it winter rental because we wouldn't need to go there during the winter. So we do a rental winter during the winter, but then we only have 12 weeks or 12 to 14 weeks of bookable summer weeks in a summer. But for us, a couple of weeks back to back would be fine with us. And it doesn't have to be like 4th of July or anything like that. We can totally rent those out those weeks. We believe that we could probably get 4 weeks in the summer for free, but 2 weeks is plenty. And then we take the other 2 as profit. So that's kind of the mindset right now. So I get it. It's a smart idea. Chris Webb, great question and excellent answer today. Thanks, Matt, and everyone for the questions. Yeah, I thought everyone did an awesome job. Congratulations to you guys. I love the questions. Hopefully I gave you kind of my view on things and how I'm doing it and what I'm doing. Because quite frankly, I'm not here to give you advice. I'm here to just say, I've had that happen and this is what I did. Because your scenario is your own, and that's what's really important. In a rude conversation I had with somebody, I said to them, I said, you're trying to make YP MP. They're like, what's that? I was like, you're trying to make your problem my problem. I was like, that's not my problem. That's a you problem. So yeah. Chris Webb, you mentioned changing accountants. How important is it to have a good real estate focused accountant? Chris, hit the record button. Super, 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 super important. I didn't want to make this change. And I stuck with an account that I stuck with for too long. 26 years I stuck with that accountant, and they weren't the right accountant for me. They were right probably for the first 15 to 18. They've not been right for 6 or 8 years. It was my mistake. I should have moved on. Every time we'd have the conversation, he'd talk me into staying because I didn't want to walk away from him and for his business. And I've been doing my taxes with him for 26 years. I should have walked years ago. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars in money that I should have spent improving properties, doing this, doing that, better strategy. The good news is I've got now a pretty awesome engine going. And so I found an amazing, he's better than a CPA. He's an EA, which is an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is far more powerful than a CPA. CPAs are awesome, but enrolled agents have to test on the IRS rules every year, number one. And number two, they basically are held to the same standard or even a higher standard than an IRS agent. And they can actually represent you in a tax fight. I'm like, what? So when I found out what an EA was, guess what I did? I went shopping for an EA. I got an EA. He's got multiple CPAs on staff, but he's a brilliant businessman because he has people that take care of all the data entry and filling everything out and making sure it's clean. And then a review by him and the CPA, and then a call with me. If it follows through like what we've talked about, I will be probably the happiest I've ever been at tax season time because I really feel like we brought up our game tremendously by bringing on somebody super skilled and smart like this. So I think it's just a huge win getting somebody this good on the team. So yeah, very excited. Steve Day, yes, sir. I have 4 baby girls from 4 months to 8 years. Totally understand. There you go. That's exactly right. Yeah. So we've got Samuel, who's 4, Bryn, who's 2.5, Eliana, who's 11 months. And then we will eventually have a 4th. I don't know when. We're trying to take a breath. But yeah. Like you said, like moving kids around, like owning a place. I get it. Like this so ours is a 2-bedroom that we own. And that's why it's just too small. It's too small to put 6 of us in someday, 5 of us right now. REI Stoners, after your offer is accepted with tenants in place, do you check with the seller for current rents? If they are lower than market, what's your next step? Great question, REI Stoners. Great question. Binder strategy. Yep. Binder strategy from Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Binder strategy is my next step. Probably not in person, but it's my next step. It's just having the conversation after we close. What I would say probably within 60 days, I would have that binder strategy. The reason I don't do it right away is because I get in there, I ask them, okay, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's how we take care of things. Please tell me if you have any of these 5 things going on in your apartment. If you do, please let me know immediately. If you don't, please let me know a couple things in your apartment that have just been maintenance items that the previous landlord might not have addressed. I'd like to try and get those taken care of for you. Then I get those taken care of in the first week or two of owning the building. Then they see that I'll fix the place, I'll take care of it, that I listen to them, that I'm willing to have dialogue with them, that they're not just a nuisance tenant that pays me rent once a month. And then after 60 to 90 days, then I look and see where they compare to where the market compares. And I basically put together my, my email for them and just say, hey, I'm going to send you an email. Just want to kind of talk through things. If the lease is expired, we do that. If the lease is not expired, then I wait until within 60 days of the lease expiring to have that conversation. But if they're a month-to-month tenant, I do it probably 60 to 90 days after I've taken care of stuff, after I've made their place nice, after they see I fix stuff, after they see, and I want to see, are they a jerk tenant? There's jerk landlords, there's jerk tenants. I want to see if I got a jerk tenant, right? And sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. So after a couple months, I see, do they pay on time? Are they nice to deal with when they have a problem? Are they like always yelling? I have this one person that and she's an inherited tenant. Every single time something goes on, she's always yelling at me. Dude, I'm never going to renew your lease. You should probably start packing now. Nancy, I ain't renewing your lease ever, not in a billion years. You're a nuisance. You're constant. And it's almost always something that you've caused, that you broke. Oh yeah, I was doing this and I broke the window. Oh yeah, I was doing this. And now I see we have a bunch of stink bugs. Dude, everybody has stink bugs. Close your windows. Like, well, I want them open. Dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You got to help yourself. So yeah, so that's what I would do. Stoners, REI stoner. That's what I would do. I would look at it, see if you like them for the first 60, 90 days, and then binder strategy. What do you think is the best way to fund an ADU build? Oh, Rob. That's a good question, Rob. Cash out refi on the property where you're doing the ADU. HELOC on where you're doing the ADU, depending on the terms. Ideally at a cash flow. How about that for a smart ass answer? Yeah, I would think probably a cash out refi is probably the way that I would do it. The other thing you can do, because you already own the land, is I would talk to your bank about a construction loan. That's what I would do. Talk to them about a construction loan. They also might give you some favorable terms because you're improving the property that's there and creating another income. So I think you got a lot of options. I would talk to the bank about a construction loan. I would talk to some banks about a HELOC. So I would talk to your existing bank first. Then I would talk to other banks and see what program they have out there. That's what I would do. Interested to know what that would look like. I have an ADU that I'm building, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to fund it yet. I've had that conversation with the bank, but I'm about 6 months away from having all the approvals done. So once I get all the approvals, then I can really start shopping heavy. Still hopeful. Matt, a lender quoted me 4.78 on a 30-year fixed investor loan plus points. Oh, that's pretty nice. I mean, is that pretty nice? No, I mean, maybe. Maybe that's nice. Is that good? Do you think that's good? Still hopeful. Do you think that's good? I don't even know if that's really good. Because I just got 4.25 30-year fixed, no points. So I don't know. I don't know if that's good. That might be good with that might be good with what's going on in the market right now, but I don't know, because I know that there's a lot of movement on those rates. So yeah, that maybe. So still hopeful. Let me know if you think that's good, because I'm not really sure. Karen Molnar, thanks for the wonderful advice. You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. You as well, Karen. REI Stoners, thanks, Matt and little Matt. See that? You're welcome. Yeah, so still hopeful. I'm honestly not sure. Honest to goodness. Oh, what an awful job. Poor guy's giving up his, oh, brutal. That's an awful job. That particular project sucks. Oh, brutal. Thankfully, that's not a project that's happening on my property. That was another contractor sent me something and said, "Hey, what are your thoughts?" I texted them what my thoughts were. Don't do it. Looks scary. Awesome. Well, we are basically at the 3 hour spot. I don't really care if Dion makes fun of me for not making it 3 hours. So we will have a jam-packed week this week. We've got one rental at a time on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Then he posts those videos, I think, at 12, 2, and 4 West Coast time. Then we've got 3 Amigos on Thursday. And the special event will be the plumbing special event. We'll have the plumber on Thursday night. That will then be released Friday. I'll release that Friday, so you guys can check that out. I have a few things I want to talk about. And then Thursday, 3 Amigos, with Dion and Mike on One Rental at a Time. And then Dion Talk Financial Freedom. We do one for his channel every week. He releases that, I believe, on Saturday or Sunday. And then Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram, at Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram. Follow me there. I've been light on my post because we've been so crazy busy, but I'm going to be posting again every day starting this week. Because after I put the kids to bed and after I clean up and after I've done some of my normal work, I'll then pick something from the day that we encountered in the field, because we have a bunch of massive projects that we're doing that are now fully underway, like big. One of them was a 130-year-old building right in downtown, right across from town hall. We completely gutted it. And now we are putting it back together, and we're going to make it beautiful again, because that property has been a dilapidated property for 15 years. 15 years. I bought that from a longtime investor in this market. They just always had something else better to be working on. So they left this one and it just sat there. Finally had the awesome opportunity to be able to buy that property. And that property it's going to be beautiful. It's 4 1-bedroom executive level caliber apartments right downtown. You can walk to everything. There's about 100 restaurants downtown. You can walk to all of them very easily from this place. It is the perfect walking location. So the place is absolutely spectacular. Place is awesome. So anyway, that being said, and then Friday, Mike Zuber from One Rental at a Time on my channel. And then next Sunday's live stream. So yeah, super awesome. Lots of stuff going on. Yeah, it'll be a crazy busy week, but really looking forward to it. And like I said, Instagram, be watching the updates on that. I'm going to show you guys some exterior pics, so you'll see exactly how much of a massive dump it is, and then how amazing I'll have it looking probably within 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks. Windows, so roof, windows, siding, over the next 2 weeks on the outside. Inside is going to be plumbing, electrical, and prep for sheetrock, mud, and tape. So yeah, it's going to be a busy, crazy week. And then Eliana with Ashley is going to be down in the hospital this week getting her chemo. And so super excited. We appreciate all your positive thoughts and prayers that you guys have sent us. Super excited for this to be her last 5-day. The 5 days are rough because she's a baby, and so she gets chemo every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then just a bunch of hydration. So it's a tough week on her. It's a tough week of recovery next week, or the following week when she gets home. but super blessed that this is our last step, or last 5 day. And then we have a couple of, 2 days in between, 2 days for the next few weeks, but expecting to be done for the end of April. So super excited to be doing that. Anna Kay, thank you, Matt. Everyone's participation. Yeah, you guys were awesome today. Thank you so much. Great learning experience and fun all in one. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with you guys. And honestly, thanks, man. Good stuff. Well wishes. Thank you very much. Honestly, it's been great having you here. Hopefully you learned something. Please forward this on to other folks, or just tell them about it, or just even forward them the Instagram stuff. We really want to grow the channel, because I think that there's a lot of people out there that would love to at least start to get the knowledge of what we do as investors. And I want to share that with people. I also, as we create more new landlords, I want them to be good landlords. I want them to be good landlords. There's the expense side of it, but I also want them to hear the human side, the human stories of it, of how we handle tenants, because they're people. And this really works. We can get rid of a lot of that friction if everyone just gets on the same page and gets on the same team and recognizes that houses break, and sometimes it's the tenant and sometimes it's not, and we're all on the same team. And so if everyone just owns their spot, guess what? It can actually be a pretty frictionless relationship. So it's pretty cool. Chiku Kennyone, I think I'm deeply in love with you. I mean, I appreciate that. That's nice of you. Thank you. Cool. I'm good having you here. Show up next week if you have some real estate questions. So yeah. So this lumberjack signing off. Appreciate all you guys. I hope you have an awesome, awesome week. And thank you for the prayers for our family. We really appreciate it. And honestly, we're just walking through our miracle daily. She's been getting great test results. And so we're immensely blessed. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me. On the way out, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. But it's been a great time with you guys today, and have a great rest of your Sunday and weekend and week. Take care, guys.